All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday Show here on the line. This is one of our mini call-in shows where you have the opportunity to call in and explain and defend your views on religion and the supernatural as a primary. I mean, of course, if you discovered something related to physics or reality or whatever else that you feel like we need to be educated on or corrected, you can call. I'm Matt Dillahunty. Joining me today, Dr. Aaron Adair. How you doing?
I'm doing all right here. Doing okay.
Well, we, as always, I'll go through the kind of standard little warnings. If you're a theist, you're going to go straight to the top of the queue. And all I basically ask is a little bit of patience because there's a delay with the tech. And because we're trying to actually teach people and reach some sort of understanding, we might have to interrupt. We're going to have to interrupt to get a definition of something, or wait, did you mean this? In order to get clarity. That's just the way it works. If we were all sitting around a table at a pub, it would go like that without it being quite so frustrating. The fact that we can't see you, and you can't see the expression on your face, or when you're raising your hand or whatever else, that makes things a little more difficult. We do understand that. So just be patient when we interrupt. But all we're really looking for is people to say, here's what I believe and why. And in particular, giving us the reasons why they think we should agree with them. Here's the thing you got. If instead of saying, I believe Jesus is Lord and here's the reasons why, and you guys have flawed understandings of epistemology or whatever else, that's all fine. If you're calling in to do the, hey, well, you guys are atheists, so doesn't that mean this? We will do some Atheism 101 clarification. I have my mug ready that says I'm not answering questions, but I'm potentially open to answering some questions. Just don't call in under the guise that you're going to defend a God and then spend all your time suggesting that we have to prove your God wrong even before you start, which is really unusual. Other than that, we're hoping to have some fun. And it's your chance to call in. This is one of many shows here on the line. There will also be, this is the Sunday show. There'll be the Sunday show after dark tonight at 7. Wonderful producer lady has the entire schedule. You want to run through it?
Yes, I will let you guys know what's going on. Here we go. All right. So coming up on the schedule, if you guys stick around and chat, right after this show ends, you will be sent over to Calling It Now on Jimmy's channel, and that will be with Jimmy and Javon Bradley. Then back here for After Dark at 7 p.m. Central Time will be Forrest Valkai and Promise. What a killer duo. Monday, tomorrow at 6 p.m. will be Forrest Valkai and Erica Guts at Gibbon. So buckle up, kids, for another 12-hour extravaganza, I'm sure, with those two. Chewed Gum on Tuesday will be Alyssa Lube and Taylor from Skeptical Heretic. Matt will be joined by Dalton the Bible Guy on the Hang Up this Wednesday. TACIS this week will be with Dr. Ben and Riverboat Jack. Then there will be a Cus I Wanna for a second Forrest Valkai and Erica Gets a Given episode 2 in 1 week. Dear Lord, help us all. And then next Sunday, back here for the Sunday show, will be Matt Dillahunty with Austin Archer. So make sure you go hit the notification bell on anything that's already posted and get ready to hit it for when the other ones get posted so you don't miss out on anything.
I'm not sure that's even legal to let Forrest and Erica do multiple shows in a week. I mean, you've got to take some time to soak it in. They're teaching so much, so densely for so long. But if people actually tuned in and paid attention, I think if we let them do 3 shows in 1 week, we'd fix the whole damn world.
Erica might already be doing that because she's been doing the rather long live streams with Will Duffy about Evolution 101.
Yeah, I noticed one of them popped up in my feed, and I'm sorry, Erica. I think it was like 4 hours long, and I haven't had a 4 hour block. I haven't even had the time to listen to Aaron's lecture that he sent me the other day, because not only did we travel and go hang out with family for the first time in a long time, but we have a new dog, and there's a lot going. And I haven't had a 4 hour block where I could listen to it, but I did listen to part of it. And it's great to take a course that you designed, which is what Eric is doing, and kind of condense it, but not necessarily condense it, and do this kind of one-on-one training. And based on what I'm understanding, hasn't Will already gone from like not accepting common ancestry to accepting perhaps common ancestry, but not how it was? I don't know. I think she's changing minds, and that's great.
And of course, for those guys who may not know, Will Duffy was the person who funded the quote unquote final experiment, the simple observation down in Antarctica to debunk flat eartherism that he helped set up. And it convinced at least one flat earther to switch sides. I think 4 different flat earthers went. I know 1 or 2 of them have explicitly said they don't believe in flat earth anymore. So he's been part of that, and that he's trying to learn some evolution as well. All the more power to him.
All right. Well, if you're ready, we've got callers, and we're going to start off with some folks who think we might be doing it wrong. So needs to be a pretty good place to start. Joe's calling from Pennsylvania. Pronouns are him. It says here, Joe, that you believe that the new atheists are giving apologists what they want, following down nonsense rabbit holes from them. How you doing? What's going on?
That's correct. Hi, madam. Happy to meet you. And who else is on the phone here?
My name
Dr.
is
Aaron
Aaron.
Adair.
Oh, hi. Hello. I don't think I know you, but anyway, I'm very happy to talk to you, Matt. I want to let you know that I've been an unbeliever for, I guess, I'm 57, so it would be 27 years now. I used to listen to your show a lot. I can't listen to it anymore, and it's not your fault. When I turn it on every now and then, I listen to some of these inane arguments. I want to jump out the window. They're so stupid. And nonetheless, I think that's the way that's what the Christian nationalists would rather talk about. And I think I consider myself a pantheist, which means I really don't care if there's a God or not, and I don't care if you believe in a God or not. But I think there's better questions to ask, and I think the question that atheists should be asking is there such thing as a Christian?
Why? That sounds to me like an absolutely ridiculous question. For somebody who hasn't been listening to the shows, I spend a great deal of time talking about politics and everything else. And so why would I listen to somebody who's apathetic and who thinks that a good question is anybody a Christian?
Well, there's one way, there's really only one way that Christians have that's given to them in the Bible to prove whether or not there is a God. And it is not building an art park, and it's not Kalam cosmological argument. It's they have to act like Jesus. And I really don't care what anybody's argument is, any of those arguments. If you're not acting like Jesus, then please don't tell me you're a Christian.
Okay. Well,
and I think,
Joe.
Yes.
Nobody, atheist or Christian, could give a shit what your opinion is about whether or not they're a Christian or a real Christian. There's no way to demonstrate it. The Bible's clear that nobody knows who's saved except for God. And you don't know necessarily what it means to act like Jesus, but somebody could act like Jesus, but also not be a Christian. The thing we're asking about is, what do you believe and why do you believe it? And in particular, why do you think others should believe it? And I think it's important because people always, 100% of the time, act in accordance with their beliefs, and they're going to vote based on those beliefs. So when I'm here asking people, explain what you believe and why, and we're teaching them skepticism and epistemology and pointing out fallacies and teaching them about science, I'm trying to correct the foundational things in their understanding and or figure out what errors I've made. What is your method and what does it accomplish?
Well, I think it's incumbent upon a Christian to prove that he or she is a Christian.
No, it's not.
Because why not?
It's not possible, nor is it incumbent. I was a Christian for 25, almost 30 years. It was never my duty or job to prove to anyone that I was a Christian. My only job was to share the gospel of Jesus Christ that is the power to salvation and to allow the Holy Spirit to convict people. Who I am or whether I was a real Christian is completely irrelevant. There's nothing in any significant Christian doctrine that supports what you just said.
And on top of that, we can go to other denominations like the Mennonites, the Amish, don't even believe it's appropriate to go out evangelizing because that's prideful. So unless we want to say the Amish aren't Christian enough, I think we're selecting what Christianity is much less than would any sociologist want to do, and it definitely wouldn't explain things on a political level. You're mentioning, what about the political aspects? Well, there is Christian nationalism, and whether those people act like Jesus or not, they're using Christianity as a bludgeon as hard as they can to take away people's rights. So it seems like whether or not they're real Christians, the label seems to work well for them, and it's the sort of thing that I and other people on this show would like to push against.
I understand that. Now, the thing is, these Christian nationalists are also very fond of telling us who is and who is not a Christian. So I think we should turn that on them and say, well, then you have to prove to me that you are a Christian.
I haven't seen that. Where are you seeing this?
I haven't seen any. I'm the only one who knows about this. I'm the only one who's thought of this myself. I don't know if anybody else.
So you're literally saying, I want to make sure we're clear on this, Joe. You're literally saying Christian nationalists are fond of telling people who is or isn't a real Christian. And when I say I haven't seen that, where have you seen it? You're saying you're the only one that noticed it.
Oh, I'm sorry. It seems to me that the Christian nationalists will say like Obama, well, he's not a real Christian.
Okay.
And I think I've heard people tell you on this show that you were never really a Christian.
Yes. So what?
Well, then I think somebody should prove, until someone can prove to me that he or she is a Christian, then I really don't want to hear whether or not what else you have to say about.
Well, that's your prerogative, but it has no impact on anybody else in the world. That's your personal preference. Just like it was your personal preference to stop watching the show, where you would have gotten the answers to all the things that we've talked about today over and over again. Because you seem to be bothered by, they're going to go around claiming who is or isn't a real Christian when they have no way of demonstrating it. You know what else they have? No interest in demonstrating it, no requirement to demonstrate it. All they need to do is say it so that the people who agree with them know who they're in a group with. That's it. You're not in the group.
Okay, I understand that. I understand the community. I think what they're really doing it for is for community and to be a part of something. Yes. I don't necessarily think they even believe what they're talking about.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not psychic, and I don't care if you think you're psychic, but yes, community is an important part. You running around saying that you don't think they believe it is just as silly as what you're objecting to with them claiming who is or isn't a real Christian. You're doing exactly the same thing, Joe.
Well, I think if they really believed it, if they really believed in what Jesus taught, then the first thing out of their mouth is how we're treating the poor and suspicion of the rich and taking care of widows and orphans. That's not the thrust of their message. They want to talk about trans swimmers.
So you've bought into this hippy-dippy left-wing socialist version of Jesus, and you think that's what they should be coming out of their mouth.
Well, that's what's in the Bible.
It's not all that's in the Bible, is it?
Well, trans swimmers aren't in the Bible.
Correct. And I have yet to hear any Christian nationalists say anything about trans swimmers from a biblical standpoint. I mean, you're calling in to suggest that we're playing into their game, and I argue that you've completely bought into their game. Because I'm
Okay.
here to find out. I'm here to find out what's true. I don't care whether somebody believes it. I care whether or not there's a good reason to believe it. And if they care also, then I can expose that they don't have a good reason. But you seem to have a model of what Christians should be, and you see Christians not living up to your model. How effective do you think it's going to be for you as a godless heathen to run around telling Christians that they're not living up to your model of Christianity?
It's not my model, it's their model.
No, it's your model. It wasn't mine. I was a Christian. I'm telling you, if I still was a Christian, I would be in complete disagreement with you. So it's your model, not theirs.
What about?
It's also worth noting this whole idea of
they
there
don't
being
care about
real
the-
Christians
I'm sorry.
and not real Christians. The whole thing of what even a Christian is ultimately socially chosen. After all, yes, are there things in the New Testament about caring about the poor? Absolutely. On the other hand, you could go and highlight the parts where Jesus is going to come out and rip us apart. You got plenty of bloodshed according to the book of Revelation. If you go to the Gospels, you have Jesus coming and saying, "I bring not peace but a sword." In the Gospel of Luke, where Jesus is saying, anyone who doesn't follow me, bring him here and kill them in front of me. We could go with the extra violent version of Jesus and say that's real Christianity. It depends on what parts you want to highlight, and then you realize, oh, that's probably why there's so much diversity within Christianity. Saying which one is the real Christianity is to say that there's some objective standard to go by, when reality, what makes up a religion, what the people in that group say they are.
Okay. Well, assuming that your target audience are atheists. Are believers. From what I can tell, and from what I see, what's going on in the country, I don't think you're convincing to your target audience.
Okay. I don't care, Joe.
Well, okay. I
don't care what an apathetic non-viewer who gets so much wrong cares about how effective I'm being. I know how effective I am and am not. I know how effective others are and are not. And you don't even seem to know who the target audience is, because my target audience isn't just believers. So, I don't know. Thanks for giving your opinion on a show you don't watch and a mission you don't understand.
No, I don't think so. I think I understand.
You don't think so?
Pretty
What?
well. I think apologetics is a way to shift the burden of proof onto the unbeliever.
So what? So what? I just called you out, and you're just like, oh, I don't think so. And then you move directly on to what you think apologetics about, that it's about shifting the burden of proof. That's a common aspect of apologetics, is to say this all makes sense. This is the best explanation I come up with, and other people haven't proven it wrong. Congratulations. How are you going to teach people that without engaging with them?
You can engage with them.
I'm sorry, you're calling in to say we're doing it wrong, and I'm literally doing that.
I don't understand. I'm sorry.
You're calling in to say we're doing it wrong, and I'm literally doing the thing that you just agreed needs to be done.
Well, no, I don't see it the way. I think, for instance, your debate with Cy 10 Brugengate, I think that was a total waste of time.
Okay, Joe.
I would tell him, you are a hypocrite. You're not living up to...
Joe?
Yes.
You don't get to decide. You don't get to tell. You think telling a Christian they're a hypocrite because they don't meet up with your thing? This is incredibly stupid. And how many years ago was my debate with Cy 10 Brugengate? And how long has he been out of apologetics entirely because of his sexual improprieties? You're still talking about my debate with Cy 10 Brugengate? Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, there's always someone going to come in to fill the void.
That was 11 years ago, you dipshit. We're talking about right now. You're calling in to tell me we're doing it wrong. I did a debate with an apologist 11 years ago, which, by the way...
Well, that was the only one I can think of.
But I'm still talking, which, by the way, went really well and exposed him thoroughly. What would you have done different with the Cy 10 Brugengate debate? Genius?
Oh, why are you calling me a genius? I'm no genius.
Yeah,
well, I think he should have talked about how we should be taking care of the poor. and
I'm
taking
sorry,
care of the
that
father.
wasn't the debate topic.
I don't think you should have even, it was, I know you were talking about the presuppositional apologetics. I don't even think that's even worth going, a pathway worth going down.
Okay, Joe, I no longer give a fuck about your opinion at all. I didn't before, but you called in to share it, and you've managed to get so much wrong. And now you're telling me that 11 years ago, I shouldn't have done a debate with this guy because it doesn't fit your fucking misunderstandings of what the goal is or how to best do it. Why don't you go do this and do it better, Joe? Show me up.
Well, all right, we'll see. Thanks, Matt.
We'll see. I bet we don't see. I bet I don't hear from you ever again. I bet nobody hears from you. I bet you don't engage with people. Well, okay. It's so wild because there's always room for improvement. There's always
And I
room to
should say
learn
that-
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what are we supposed to do as hosts other than meet people where they're at when they call in? We shouldn't be telling them, hey, you called in wanting to talk about this, but because you're not talking about poverty, we're going to switch the subject. We have to meet our audience where it's at rather than where we demand the audience be. We're not going to be effective hosts if nobody wants to listen.
Yeah, it's so here's the thing. When you're doing a formal debate, like what I did with Cy, there's a lot of negotiation that goes on ahead of time to determine what the topic is, what definitions you're going to actually, oh, somebody thinks I was a little rough. Put your grown-up pants on, Chris. There's some discussions about what you're going to actually talk about. And if you're the one that departs from the agreed upon debate structure, format, and topic, you are the one who has violated the rules of the debate. Oh, you don't think I should have taken a debate with him unless it dealt with Christians should be feeding the poor? I'm sorry. Since Joe went and ran off, we didn't get to do this part. But here's the reality. If I showed up, pick a Christian, pick any Christian I've ever debated, any of them, no matter how right-wing, and I said, hey, don't you think Christians should be helping the poor? They would say, yes, and they are. Don't you think they should be doing it more? Yes, because we're imperfect, but we're doing it and we're making progress. And they, you know what they'd have referenced? They would have referenced hospitals and charities. You know, we have a big homeless population here in Austin, Texas, because the weather's generally nice. It's February 8th, and while we had a week that was around freezing, it's back up to almost 80 right now. And so because of that, we get people who don't have houses, who wind up living in places where the city council round them up and shut them down and everything else. But we have a large population of people who are without houses. Do you think Christians are helping them, Joe? Because they are. There are multiple Christian churches and ministries that are having weekend services underneath I-35 at 6th Street in the parking lot. And they are providing not just sermons, food. They are providing clothing. They are providing, and by the way, there's a humanist group, Atheists Helping the Homeless, who does this as well. They are providing socks, toothbrushes, all kinds of things. This is what Christian groups are doing. This is what secular groups are doing. And so if I go to debate, there's no debate. Everybody, virtually every Christian on the planet would agree Christians should be helping the poor and they should be doing more of it. You want to call them hypocrites. What are you doing for the poor, Joe? I'm sure you're doing something because it seems to be your pet peeve. How long before you start working with Christian organizations that are actually doing it? Because you know what? Quite often they're more efficient. They're better equipped for this stuff because they have a tax-free status. They have a built-in community. They have a way to force people to give 10 to 20% of their income to the church, and then they can distribute that to the people in need. Are they all doing it? No. Is that what the Project 2025 Christo-fascist nationalists are doing? No. That is not their thing. But is that what the average caller is probably involved with their church? Yes. Yes, they are. The Lottie Moon Christmas offering, sending missionaries around. They do this where they're providing services in addition. I think that people who are without houses and people who are impoverished should be able to get help and a sandwich and socks without being forced to listen to a sermon. I think that would be an improvement, but you don't get to pretend like it's not happening. You should probably go look up Christian charities, because the point of attack, from my perspective, is not you're not doing enough for the poor. It's, I like that you're doing stuff for the poor. I just wish you didn't have so many strings attached, and you don't have good reasons for your belief. And your beliefs are forcing you or encouraging you in many cases to vote against the rights of the very people you're trying to help. Because it's not the left-wing politicians in Austin that are rounding up the poor and shutting down homeless shelters. And that's not the left-wing people. It's the right that are put into place by the very Christians who are trying to run a ministry to support them. It's really strange. Sorry, Joe, I don't agree. Go do it better and prove me wrong, because you didn't come with anything other than your opinion, and I'm going to need some data, because 20 years of doing this. Anyway. Well, I'm gonna welcome another caller here. It's weird. Did you want to? I don't know if we want to call G or Gerald or what, but calling on the topic of why is God hiding? Pronouns are he, him from DC. Welcome to the show, G.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Matt, Dr. Aaron. Good to be with y'all.
How we doing?
Blessed. How about you all? I hope so, despite everything.
I don't think I'm blessed, but I'm doing okay.
80 degrees.
Hello?
Gerald, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we lost your audio for a moment.
Okay. No, I'm here. I'm sorry. Yes, you blanked out for a second. I was like, do I have them on mute?
No, I think we're not muted at the moment. We're just going through all of our technical hoopla. So, Gerald,
you know
let's
what?
talk
I
about
did have
what you want to talk about.
Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, probably best to not be on speaker.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I'm on the phone now.
Audio sounds good. All right. We wanted to talk about God hiding. So, tell us what you're thinking.
Yes. Well, I mean, I thought that's what the topic was, and I guess I seemed like it had branched off into something else with the last call. I'm not really sure, but yes, it did catch my attention. And Matt, I didn't really know if when it said "Why is God hiding?" I didn't know. I thought maybe there was a reference to the second coming, and I know last fall. September, there was, some stuff going around online about the rapture about to happen, and so I didn't know. But then you all are also atheists, so I was like, I didn't really know where we're going with this. But I do have a contribution, and I would just say, just being funny about it. I am a believer, just to put that out there, a person of faith. But I mean, if we're being honest, obviously there's a lot of discrepancies or contradictions in the Bible. And so, just to put it out there, the last time Jesus was here, if he was, according to the Bible, we killed him. So if God is supposed to be coming back with Jesus, I probably wouldn't be in a rush, or probably want to scope things out a little bit more. And I think that's one thing.
You don't think that...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just like, I get that you were being funny, but I mean, that was God's plan though, right?
What was God's plan?
For Jesus to come and die?
You mean the first time around?
The only time.
Right. Yes. That was that was the plan. Right. So that's what I'm saying. What's the plan the next time? And I didn't know if that was what the title was referencing from you all. Why is God hiding? Do you mean Jesus? Are you all referencing the second coming?
Oh, no. So just for clarity, we don't, when we talk about God, we're not just talking about the Christian God or your version. It's whatever God someone believes in. As far as I can tell, they either do not exist, or whichever one does exist, or whichever ones
Oh.
exist are
Okay. Oh,
clearly
so
hiding.
that's
They're not
basically
providing. They're
you
not.
coming straight
They're
from
not provide.
atheism, and
They're
you're
not.
saying
They're not. Oh my
where is.
God.
Yes, you're saying where are these gods? How do we where are they here? They
Yes.
look like they're hiding.
Where is the
Oh, I
evidence
got it.
for the exist? Never mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Oh, I got it. Now we about to get somewhere. Now we about to get somewhere because I think I can tell you. I think I can tell you. Obviously, there's different words for God, right? We got God, we got Allah, Jehovah, Buddha, all of these names. But and obviously we got different languages around the world too, right, Matt? And it seems like we get to this confusion when we get to the word God, but we can agree on everything else. There's a word for chair in Spanish and English and Chinese. There's a word for table. There's a word for car. And if we compare definitions like that, I'm sure we would all come up with things that are similar, where we would agree. Oh, okay, I agree with the Chinese. I agree with the Spanish. I agree with the French. That their definition of these basic terms is pretty on par, and we can agree to move forward with the translations. But when we get to these, the religious gods, there seems to be this disconnect on, exactly how we should follow, exactly how we should conduct ourselves religiously. I think really and truly, even if you're an atheist, or whether you're a believer or not, a theist or an atheist, I think if we just talked about what people believe the definition of God is, whether you're an atheist or not, whether you're a believer or not, I think we could get to an understanding of what believers, Christians and otherwise, are actually trying to do. You know what I mean? And so what I would, if I could, I would wonder what
if I can try to get us a little bit, can we get to the point here that I would say that even though many people have different conceptions about God, there are some generalities about every God concept together. So one is gods are supernatural. And I think that's a universal thing that would fit a God definition.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I wouldn't disagree with that.
And I would say that, and I would say as an atheist and a naturalist, there are no examples of supernatural entities, no evidence there is anything supernatural. Everything seems to work well on naturalism. So hence the question, if there are these supernatural entities, why can't we find them? Why are they hiding?
Okay. Well, I didn't say that. I hear you. I agree with that. Is that your only definition of what you believe believers are thinking about when they, reconcile with what God is? Because I don't use supernatural in my definition. I was raised in the Christian faith. My father was an atheist, but he was raised Catholic. And my mother was also raised Christian, but she says, kind of figure things. They gave me room. And so, I was struggling with Christianity, but I looked at other religions. I see that, there's, like you said, there's some similarity all over there. And if we can get to a basic understanding of what all, believers think we're dealing with, and if atheists could just understand what we're really after, and be general about it, because let me just get to the point. My father, once he completely committed to atheism and tried to encourage myself, younger, siblings, cousins, whatever, he would say something like, "Oh, you can't be serious. You really think there's a man in the sky somewhere?" And he would say things like that when I was 15, 16. But as I got older, I'm like, "Come on, would you be serious?" No, I don't actually believe there's a man in the sky somewhere, or, just a focus on supernatural things. There's more to it than that. It's very, yeah, go ahead.
G?
Yes.
So, yes, I can hear you now. Just for clarity, I've done this for 20 years. It's my job. I'm a former fundamentalist Christian, Southern Baptist, occasionally Pentecostal, but mostly Southern Baptist. However, we address all kinds of God claims. So what we really need is for someone to say, here's what I mean when I say I believe in God, and here's the justification. I'm still talking, and here's the justification. I'm still talking. I'm still talking.
I'm listening. I'm here.
Then stop talking. There's a delay,
That's
and
an
it really gets
not an interruption. Sorry. I'm sorry about the delay. Sorry.
Tell me what God you believe in and why you think we should believe in it too.
Well, I'll tell you what my definition of God is. Can I start with that? And then kind of get to the rest. So I believe God is an eternally infinite, infinitely eternal creator, cosmic consciousness and force and power that possesses all knowledge at all times. And if you just want to get to a one-word definition, it's the entire, well, that's not one word, but it's the entire universe. It's every and all things, and it definitely includes
the
math and the sciences.
Yes. Yeah, G, that definition of God is not consistent with the universe. It is not consistent with math and sciences, but what's the reason for believing that there is an eternally infinite, infinitely eternal creator cosmic consciousness in force and power that possesses all knowledge at all time? What's the justification for believing that's possible and exists?
Sure. Well, we can interact with our natural surroundings, and we can detect the underlying operation or underlying code of the universe and our natural surroundings through the math and the sciences. The math and the sciences are not immediately detectable, but we've had to use the system of education and the scientific method to discern what's going on around us and understand how the universe works. And through the math and the science,
none of that is an explanation for what the justification is for believing in a God. I can interact with my natural surroundings.
Is this Matt or Dr. Aaron? I'm sorry. As a delay on the screen, I can't see who's talking.
It's Matt. It doesn't matter who it is, but it's Matt. And here's the thing: when you say that,
I just want to address
it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't fucking matter.
Okay, well, it matters to me. It doesn't matter to you.
I don't.
I'm just putting it out there. We can disagree.
It'd be better if we disagreed without you talking over me when I'm trying to get to the point, because when I asked what the justification is, when I asked for the justification is for believing that that God is possible, you said the justification is that we can interact with our natural surroundings. Are you suggesting?
Yeah, that's my justification.
Holy shit, dude!
I'm not here to convince you.
Holy shit! Stop talking.
Let me.
Oh my fucking God! Can I get to my fucking question?
I didn't know you had a question. I heard your point. I'm responding.
That's because you fucking interrupted me. You interrupted me in mid-sentence for the third fucking time. Please stop. It'll be very clear.
It's an interjection.
Okay, I'm going to mute you. Now nobody can hear you. I'm going to finish my thought, and then it'll be clear that it's your turn to speak and can answer. You said that the justification for believing this God was possible and real was that we can interact with our natural surroundings. My question is, are you saying that it is only the case that we can interact with our natural surroundings if in fact there is a God? Is that your claim? It is now your turn.
No, that's not my only justification. It's one.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I'm going to mute you again. I didn't say that was your only justification. I get that you're new to this and I've done it for 20 years. It's probably a little unfair. I did not say, is that your only justification? I asked, what is the justification? And you said, you started with, we can interact with our natural surroundings. So here's my question. It's very simple. It's a yes, no question. Is it possible for us to interact with our natural surroundings even if there's no God?
I think it got cut off in the end. It said, "Is it possible to interact with our natural surroundings if?" And then it's cut off.
If there is no God.
Even if there's no God.
Would it be possible to interact with our natural surroundings if there was no God? That's the question?
Yes.
Yeah. My answer is, if there is no God, whatever you think that is, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be interacting. So no,
Okay.
God is a universe.
I give up on you. I give up on you, G, because you refuse to answer the question that's asked.
I did answer the question. My answer
No, sir, you did
no,
not.
we wouldn't be able to interact with the natural universe. That's my answer. We wouldn't be able to do it. Okay.
Yeah, see, when I ask a yes or no question, yes or no is probably best.
Okay. I don't have to answer your question just like you wanted. But all right,
Oh, yes, you fucking do, actually. I'm going to mute you again. Here's the thing that you don't get. You were asked, what's the justification for believing in a God? And you gave a part of it. Okay. I don't know how much time you've spent studying logical fallacies and the structure of arguments, but if you say, basically you could structure that as, it is possible to justify a God belief because we can interact with our natural surroundings. But if it's the case that we can interact with our natural surroundings, if there is a God, and if there's not a God, then that cannot possibly be a justification. You have now, if I understand you correctly, said that it is not possible for us to interact with our natural surroundings if there's no God. Is that correct?
Say if. That's what you want me to say. What I said is, if.
Okay, I'm going to mute you again because you were talking even before I unmuted you. I'm trying to understand your claim. Is it your claim, yes or no, that if there is no God, we cannot interact with our natural surroundings? Is that your claim?
That is not my claim. That is not my claim.
Okay, what is your claim?
That is not my claim. My claim is God exists, and we can interact with God right here and through our natural universe. That's the only way. That's how we exist, because God exists. The universe is here. We didn't get here first and then see the universe come into existence. The universe is here, and then we show up. You didn't do it. I didn't do it. My mom, dad didn't do it. We haven't met any scientists that put this all together. Something's going on, Matt. Now,
okay, Gerald,
I know
it sounds like you're making a bit of a different argument here.
I know the two of you.
Gerald?
Go ahead. Yep.
I think you're making a different argument. You're switching from interactions are only possible with God to God was necessary to create the universe. I think you're switching between arguments. So which of those two would you rather go with?
I can have as many arguments as I want to prove the.
Well, let's focus on one rather than jumping between the two.
Pardon?
Let's just stick with one of the arguments rather than jumping between the two, for the sake of clarity for our audience and for you.
I told you what my claim was. You wanted to know what the claim was. I told you. What else you want to know?
Jesus.
Can I talk to you about systems, human systems? I think this might get somewhere. And if this doesn't, and I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just letting you know how I believe. Okay? We've already talked about how there's multiple languages. We get along with all these words, but
I'm going to mute you. I'm going to unmute you in a second without asking any question. And all I want you to do is actually listen to what Dr. Adair asks or says and wait until he's done and then respond to it. This is the way conversations happen. Your job here is to defend your God belief, not to talk to us about systems or anything else. And you have now contradicted yourself by saying it's not possible for us to interact with reality if there's not a God, because God had to be here first. And then when I went to clarify it, you reversed that. So we're setting all of that aside. And Dr. Adair is going to ask you a question to see if we can save this useless conversation of you wandering all over the place. So just listen to him when I unmute you. He'll say something or ask a question, and then you can respond to that. And maybe that'll work as a reset, because all we want to know is there a good reason to believe what you believe or not? That's it. So he's going to ask that. Here we go.
All right. And to set up my question, let me point out 3 possibilities to show that there is not synonymity between the things you were saying. There could be a universe, no gods ever existed, universe exists without any supernatural at all. Another possibility is the deist model, God creates the universe and then lets it run. And then there's what you were seem to be talking about, Gerald, where there is a universe that is continuing to exist because God is part of it. Those are three different models. And so because they're not the same, the fact that you're talking about creation versus interaction, these need to be separated out. So you've made, I think, two different arguments at this point. Interactions with the natural world possible because of a ever-present consciousness, and you've made an argument about creation that we would not exist if or not this God. So I see two different arguments. Which of those two would you like to talk about and defend?
I'm not here to defend anything. I'm just here to give my views. I can give as many arguments as I want. If you don't want to hear any other arguments, hey, it's all good. I was ready to move on to another argument. If you don't want to hear these arguments or these positions,
the whole point, Gerald, of an argument is you put up premises and then you defend those premises. So we see if we actually accept your conclusions. If we just throw out premises and then don't defend them, we're wasting our time.
I'm not defending anything. I'm just telling you my belief.
Are you willing to admit? Are you willing to admit? Are you willing to admit that the first one was an epic failure that nobody should pay any attention to?
No.
Okay, then why should we keep listening to you?
Again, I'm not here to convince you. I'm just informing.
I'm sorry. Do you understand what the purpose of this show is?
No, I just ran across on YouTube. It says the line. People calling in and talking. It says, let's talk. Yeah, I understand. We're talking.
No.
You're probably trying to get some views.
The purpose is for you to defend your fucking beliefs.
Well, you should have told me that. Your producer should have told me that when I got on the fucking phone, dumbass. How the fuck I was supposed to know? Y'all don't got on the screen.
I'm sorry that you're an epic fucking failure at this, dumbass.
Okay, great. It's reviews. Can I give you my next perspective, and then you can call me?
No. Why would I listen to a fucking thing you ever say for the rest of forever?
I don't know, man.
I don't either, because you're not willing to defend your beliefs. You have these nonsensical positions. I
didn't know that's what
I'm still fucking talking. I'm still okay. Now you're done talking. I've done this for 20 fucking years. The show's been on forever. I'm sorry that the call screener didn't tell you that the entire purpose of this fucking show is the thing that this whole fucking show is about. I'm sorry that you think your entire duty in life is to come and just tell people what you think without providing any fucking justification for it. You are a shitty Christian. You are a shitty believer. If in fact you're advocating for Christianity at all, you have absolutely fucking failed to do that. And your definition of God is an eternally infinite, infinitely eternal creator cosmic consciousness in force and power that possesses all knowledge at all times. An absolutely useless, panaceic definition of a God that is neither testable, nor identifiable, nor justifiable. And we repeatedly asked you what the justification was, and you gave a terrible justification. It wasn't even possible to use your justification, because your justification began with, we can interact with our natural surroundings. So we asked you. This show exists for you to explain what you believe and why we should believe it. I'm sorry that you're the type of person that sees something like this on YouTube and decides to call in without figuring out what the hell's going on. I mean, we've only done this stuff for decades. It's wild to me. All we're trying to do is say, hey, G believes in a God. Does G have a good reason? And the answer is no. And G doesn't care to defend anything. When G finds out his first reason isn't going to be accepted, he wants to just move on to another one. Let's say for a second that somebody said, I believe the moon is made of green cheese. And we said, why should we believe that? And they said, a little bird told me. And we say, oh, that's not a good enough reason. Okay, fine. Let me go on to my next reason. Why? Why didn't you start with your best reason? Why didn't you start with any reason that we could actually understand and investigate? It's because you don't have a good reason. You don't understand what a good reason would even look like. You don't even understand what a definition of God would even look like. You engaged in a bunch of sophistry and language vomit and eternally infinite, infinitely eternal. That is nonsense speak. It means nothing. It contains no information of any use to everybody. A creator cosmic consciousness. Okay, that at least contains some content. You think there's a God that created everything. What's the reason for thinking that? You don't provide any. All you did was get to, I didn't create it. My mom and dad didn't create it. Cool. Those are all whom's. And when you talk about the origin of everything, you don't get to presume that it's a who that did it. You don't even get to presume that there's an origin that you have any access to investigate. You also say that this thing has force and power and possesses all knowledge at all times. How do you know that? How can you possibly know that there exists some being that knows everything at all times? You haven't even give 10 seconds thought to what a justification would look like, let alone whether you have one. And now you're mad that we're expecting a justification and you didn't know it and you're not ready for it. Maybe you should call back when you're ready. So, how do you know that this being how do you know it's even possible for some being to possess all knowledge at all times? That's the only question I have left.
You're trying. I don't believe God is a being. I never said that.
Okay. A
That's
creator.
pretty much synonymous with you're saying God does not exist.
Yeah.
Something with no being doesn't have existence.
Yeah. So you define God as a creator. I'm sorry that the contexts in English convey that a creator that possesses all knowledge. I'm not aware. Here, how does anything other than a being possess knowledge?
I'm sorry, the beeping cut you off. Can you
Yeah,
repeat that
it
for
wouldn't
me?
happen if you just stopped interrupting. How do you know that it's possible for something other than a being to possess any knowledge, let alone all knowledge?
Well, we live in the age of technology right now. I mean, AI is all over the place. So, I mean, the technology can possess knowledge, and information, and data. We can look around at our natural universe, look at these solar systems, and understand that the sciences and the chemicals and the mathematics is all there to make these things operate. And we are not in control of that, and we haven't determined an actual source that we can, tangibly touch and, photograph and say, oh, there's the reason the lavas are exploding and the gases exist and the planets are orbiting and there's time and space. And so again,
You
I'm
don't
a
know
person of
anything
faith.
about
I'm a
anything.
person of faith.
Wow, this is amazing. So when you describe it as a creator, why is it wrong to assume that that's a being? What creates other than beings?
Well, our natural universe has been created. I'm
No.
not aware of beings.
Now, see, here's the problem, G. You don't listen and you don't think. The question
I do
was,
listen. I do both.
no,
ahead.
you don't listen and you don't fucking think. The question was,
Okay.
what other than a being creates? And your answer was, well, our universe was created. So you've already
nebulous.
I'm sorry. I don't know why you're
let's
opening
cloud
your fucking pie hole right now, because I'm still fucking pointing out how you just screwed this all up. My question was, what other than a being creates? And you could have given an example of our universe creating something, even though that's not the case. But instead, you went to our universe was created. It's like me saying, what other than a human makes a sandwich? And you say, there's a sandwich over there. That's how ridiculous it is. You are not listening, you are not thinking, and you are not responding in any way that defends anything you've said. Can I store information on a computer? Yes, I can. Does it mean there's knowledge on the computer? No, it doesn't. That computer doesn't have knowledge. And by the way, this was about all knowledge at all times. But you're the one that called it by the way, here we go. What is conscious that isn't a being? Name something that is conscious that is not a being.
I believe the universe is conscious.
I don't care what you believe.
Experiment?
I need you to demonstrate that something is conscious. I
Fine.
don't believe the universe.
Experiment.
I don't believe the universe. I don't believe the universe is conscious. You might as well have said you believe your tone. Hang on. I'm going to have to mute you again because you're so bad at this. I'm going to let Aaron jump in here. But you might as well have said that you thought your toenail was conscious. I asked for a demonstration of something conscious that's not a being. But go ahead. Sorry, Aaron.
In the back and forth there, he said the double slit experiment, and that means G is going for some quantum woo. And I'm calling it woo because that is not what quantum mechanics tells us. The idea that the double slit experiment somehow shows consciousness is faulty reasoning. It is something that early theorists in quantum mechanics were talking about. But guess what? It's not the 1930s anymore. And after further realization about how quantum mechanics works, how things like entanglement work, we actually now understand, no, it does not require conscious observations to get the effects that you see in the double slit experiment. The idea that is being talked about here is when you are not looking and you're letting light go through two slits, you get an interference pattern that looks like the two slits interfering. If you are observing which slit the light goes through, you get single slit interference. Somehow us looking changes things, and then people say, oh, our conscious awareness of the thing is changing it. No, it's it's the observation which requires interaction. Namely, how do you tell that light goes through a slit? You have some sort of device that notices the light going through a slit, and that means it's interacting with the light. If you're doing this with electrons, you might see, oh, an electric charge went through. How did you notice that? You interacted with the electron, and so on. We actually know that is the way quantum mechanics works, and all the stuff about consciousness creating the universe, because quantum mechanics is nonsense that almost no modern physicist adopts today. And if you are looking for a modern physicist who tells you otherwise about it, I'm the modern physicist here in the room, so please at least take my authority over what you may have heard on the internet.
Absolutely. All due respect, absolutely. May I pose a question? May I pose that same question to you all? And I respect that answer, Dr. Adair, and I appreciate your knowledge and your expertise in that area. Both of you actually, Matt as well, 20 years. May I pose that same question to you? Can you give me an example of something that is conscious but is not a being? Or is that something that can exist?
You can ask the question. My answer is no. I'm not aware of anything that's conscious that wouldn't qualify as a being.
What about plant life? Trees and flowers responding to the sun? Or it seems like there's some awareness there or something like that. Venus flytraps. It seems like there's some
it seems like there's awareness, and there may or may not be consciousness, but if there's consciousness, that would make it a being.
I don't know about that. I like that term entity that you used earlier.
An entity. My glasses are an entity in some respect, but agency is what we describe with conscious. You described it as a consciousness. Are you aware of any consciousness that is that exists outside of a brain, outside of a nervous system?
Consciousness that exists outside of human brains?
No, I didn't say the word human. Why do you keep adding stuff?
I was clarifying. I think you can tell by my tone. I was clarifying.
No, I can't tell because you've demonstrated a serious bit of confusion about a number of topics. And you misrepresented this. So all I'm asking is, you said that in your definition of God, it was a conscious creator, and I'm not aware of conscious creator being used in anything that isn't describing a being. Does this conscious creator have a goal, an intent, a plan?
Yeah, I think there's a plan. There's probably several.
Okay, name something other than a being that has a plan. All this is happening because you objected to me naturally inferring from you claiming it was a conscious creator that that had knowledge. A conscious creator that has
Planet.
knowledge.
I was just thinking.
I'm still fucking talking.
Sorry, planet.
I'm still fucking talking.
Go ahead.
You
I was
said,
thinking.
oh my
Go
God,
ahead.
shut up.
You didn't say anything. I shouldn't.
Now you're shut up. You said it was a conscious creator with all knowledge at all times. To me, and virtually every other person that spent more than 20 seconds thinking about this, that is wholly consistent with what we would call an agent, a thinking agent, a being. All of those are tied to those things: consciousness, knowledge, a plan, creativeness, a creator, not merely a natural process. All of that is consistent with a being. And as soon as I said the word being, you called me out. I didn't say it was a being. Okay. And then I explained why I naturally inferred it was a being and how I do not understand what your justification is for pretending that it's not a being. And I gave you multiple opportunities to provide consciousness outside of a brain and nervous system, consciousness that isn't a being, a plan that doesn't come from a being, creating a creator that isn't a being. And you epically failed and didn't even attempt to justify that. Now you're coming around, you're like, well, I just don't like the being label. Maybe I like the entity label. Did you just completely waste time? Because all we're trying to do is figure out what the fuck you're saying is real and whether or not there's good reason to believe it. And you're sitting here nitpicking over whether or not it should qualify as a being while saying it is a conscious creator that has all knowledge at all times. I find this cartoonishly stupid. Let's try again. What reason do you have to think that it's possible for anything, a being or not, to possess all knowledge at all times? Go ahead.
Matt, I'm sorry. I need to apologize. Your previous question, I needed to take a moment, a beat, and think before I spoke. I don't have these conversations every day. I'm very appreciative that the two of you are here to engage, that you have an audience. Okay, the answer I came up with your previous question, because you said I didn't make an attempt, but I did. It just took me a moment to gather my thoughts. Planets have plans. They have designs. They have multiple stages that they go through. We are here on Earth. We're familiar with the previous Pangea stage. There are multiple stages to the planet.
I'm sorry, G. I'm sorry, G.
Fine.
I'm sorry, G. That wasn't the question I asked you. And now you're saying that planets have plans. I'm going to need you to define plan.
They have a whole plan. That's why they're called planet.
Oh my fucking God.
Look up the
That
theory.
is not
Thank
the
you.
origin.
Thank you. You are absolutely a troll. They're called planets because they have plans. No, they're called planets because they wander. But I am holy shit. It took forever to get this troll to give away the whole game. Good job, G. Planets are called planets because they have plans. Oh my gosh. Hey, G, I'm going to bring you back for just a second.
Yeah.
Thanks for being really funny, but don't call and waste our time again. I know it's fun to troll, but we're not going to be.
Good luck, you guys. You've got a great show.
No, you don't love us.
Thanks
You're
so
a
much for taking the
troll.
call.
You're a trolling piece of shit that wasted my time and my audience's time. Don't call back. But thank you for admitting it. They're called planets because they have plans.
I think we have to now change some of our geology books. It shouldn't be Pangea, it should be Plangea, so that way we can keep this this joke of an etymology going.
Somebody in chat said that plants have plans because That's why they're called plants.
And their plan is to stay in place. That's why they're planted.
Yeah, they're planted. Yeah. What else can we do? Hey, noted Christian philosopher Alvin Plantinga. He has a plan, but then he's a being, as far as I can tell. So we're back to that.
Oh, bananas have plants because they're plantains. There you go.
Plantains have plans. Wow. I can't believe it took that long. Hey, you want to talk to a theist that has proof that God exists?
That's the best kind.
That's what I'm looking for. Shannon's calling from Texas. Pronouns are he, him. Shannon has proof that God exists and would like to talk to me, but you'll talk to both of us because I got to get Aaron in here. I just went off a bit. So how you doing, Shannon? What's the proof that God exists?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Matt. Thanks, Shannon, for hosting. And man, recovering from that last call. Let's see. So my proof is coming from what I've witnessed from my mom. Now, I know you're going to say that's not proof for you. I'm just starting from where I'm coming from and saying that most of us, although science, has a rules that we could all ascribe to, most of us are coming from what we directly pick up in our own life. And most of that's coming from what we observe in other human beings. So I'm using my observations as proof. And from what I've gathered from my mom, it seems like the best way I've seen out of anyone to live. So I take that as proof that what she has works, and therefore I'm trying to follow it. And I find that when I do try to believe the way she does, my life seems like it's better.
Okay. Shannon, I do have to admit, something came to my mind. Have you ever watched the movie The Waterboy?
No, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay. Famous scene from there where the main character played by Adam Sandler is in his first biology class, and he tries answering the question about why alligators are aggressive, and he says, Mama says they're so angry because they got all them teeth, but no toothbrush. And all this mama says sort of things. Shannon, what you were saying there kind of reminds me of an elaborate version of Mama Says. And this isn't to be mean, it's just that's what popped into my head.
No, I get it, and I realize anytime you bring up your mom, it's kind of dangerous ground because obviously we all, that's usually people that we love the most. So I know once again, I'm coming from my own personal experience, but it just seems like every time I just try to live my life, on outside of Christianity and just kind of paying attention to science, it just doesn't work for me. I just seem to not hold structure,
So I'm confused. I'm very confused about a number of things in here. You think it's proof of God because your mom's version of Christianity works for you.
Yes, in a nutshell. I know, it sounds wacky.
Okay. Is it possible that your mom's version of Christianity could be useful and good, and yet not be because it's tied to a real God?
Well, I guess it's real. Would you maybe allow the argument that things are real if you give them enough belief and make them real?
Fuck no. God doesn't become real no matter how many people believe that God is real. That's not how reality works.
Well, how many people believe in things that don't exist, but they kind of make them reality?
Holy shit, dude.
Shannon, I don't think we want to go the Tinkerbell route of theology.
I get it. You can't prove it scientifically, but there are still things we don't know about, other dimensions, and I think that's where all this the religion, like the proof of religion lies.
Okay.
In these uncharted territories.
Okay. Shannon, do you care about reality and what's true?
Whose reality?
Okay. Say
What we
goodbye,
got?
Shannon. Say goodbye, Shannon. There's only reality.
Oh, okay. Hey, I'm trying to learn. I don't hang up on me. I'm trying to figure this out.
I'm trying to figure out why I shouldn't hang up on you, because you just, when I was trying to ask you a very simple question, which is it possible for your mom to have good ideas independent of a God? You were like, well, that makes the God real. Doesn't something become real when enough people? No. If things became real when people wished hard enough, I wouldn't be living in Trump's America. If things became real because enough people wished hard enough, there wouldn't be people fucking starving. That's not how. I'm sorry, the rest of us live in a reality, and I need you to either step up and share that reality and discuss a shared reality, because I don't give a fuck if in your imaginary personal reality you think there's a God and you think mama must be right. Is your mom a Trump supporter?
Yes.
Yeah, and you think that's a better world, a Trump supporter? Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, I mean, politics aside, I'm talking about
No,
just like
no, 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 no,
behaviors and
no,
passion.
no, 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 no. Politics don't go aside. You're talking about your mom's worldview, and your mom's worldview is shitty enough for her to vote for the pedophile protecting, rapist, lying fascist. And you think that's a better world, and it's proof of God. You're embarrassing, Shannon.
Well, look,
Your
I'm not
mom's
going to argue with
embarrassing
you on
too.
that.
Fuck you and your mom.
All right, dude. Come on, man.
Come on,
I'm
man,
trying to have a
what?
conversation. You know.
I don't need to have a conversation with fascists and bootlickers. There are people dying. There are people being killed in the streets. There are people being deported. There are people whose rights are being violated. I'm labeled a violent domestic terrorist extremist. My partner doesn't have rights in a number of states. You guys are actively opposing individuals' rights and freedoms, and you think mama got it right. Your mom's an idiot, and so are you. Goodbye. Okay. That was about as nice as I'm going to be to fascists and fascist supporters. My apologies. Actually, no, I was going to say my apologies to anybody who think I went overboard. I don't give a fuck if you think I went overboard there. And I'm going to explain why. Somebody posted the other day that they voted for three times for Trump. And now they're starting to see. Now they're seeing with the release of some of the Epstein files. They're seeing with the racist post from the other day, which he then took down and won't apologize for, and all this other. They said they're starting to see, and so they apologize and they regret it. And somebody asked me, because I said, why would it take this long? It's absolutely asinine. A lot of us knew and were warning about this back in 2015, 2016. We certainly saw it in a first administration. A lot of us were warning about all of this. This is what we told you was happening. This is what Project 2025 was. This is everything that we said, and worse. It's actually worse than I could have imagined. So what's the reason that it took some people so long? I don't know. I'm happy that they're no longer awful, but I'm not just happy. Somebody asked me, why can't you just be happy that these people are no longer Trump supporters? Oh, I can't just be happy. I'm happy they're not still awful, but I can't just be happy because they didn't care until it mattered to them. They didn't care until it was their rights at risk. They didn't care until somebody they knew or cared about was involved. They lacked empathy. They lacked understanding. They lacked attention to the truth, and they lacked compassion. They lacked the basic human dignity to have an understanding of what they were voting for before they voted for it 3 fucking times. And now they can't vote for it again, and maybe they don't get to vote at all again. So no, when Renee Good is laying dead, when Alex Pretty is laying dead, when others are laying dead, when people are being deported, when they're being denied due process, when masked secret police are marching around the United States, attacking people, harassing people, violating their rights, when abortion rights have been taken away, when they're coming after LGBTQ rights, when people are terrified, when people are packing up and leaving the country and others of us are having to leave our states, no, I can't just be happy. And when you call in to tell me that your proof of God is that mama got it right, when mama's a bootlicking fascist supporter just like you are, your mama didn't get it right. And even if your mama had got it right, even if your mom, I was hoping really when I asked her if she was a Trump supporter, I was hoping he'd say, oh, no, of course not. I genuinely, because I know people who believe in a God, people who are Christians, who are absolutely opposed to what's going on. They don't necessarily have a biblical leg to stand on, but it's fine. I'm happy for Christians to be better than the Bible. I'm happy for Jews to be better than the Bible. It'd be great. But let's assume for a second that your mom was incredibly wise and kind and wonderful and had a version of Christianity that really did wonders for her and you, and maybe even my life would be better living that way. That doesn't prove there's a God. That just proves that your mom's smart, proves that your mom has good ideas. And those good ideas might have come from a biblical understanding. They might have come from Christianity. They might have come from a church, a particular church. They might have come from a preacher. They might have come from her own head. Good ideas are good ideas, irrespective of where they come from, which is why I like the idea. It's why I pointed out earlier that Joe was wrong to be, oh, Christians need to be helping the poor. They are. Maybe they're not doing enough, but who is? None of us are doing enough because there's still poor people. We haven't solved poverty. We're making the billionaires more billionary, and we're making sure that they don't suffer any penalties for living a life that none of the rest of us want or could live, involving sex trafficking and, if you believe the reports in there, murder, cannibalism, bestiality. I mean, this is the timeline I could not have imagined. I genuinely would like somebody to say, here's a good reason to believe in God. But first of all, it's not a good reason to believe in God that mama believes in God and I think mama got it right and I feel better when I do what mama said. So it really is the alligator story. That doesn't improve a thing. But when you also then come in and demonstrate that you don't care about what's real, that you think reality is independent, like I got my reality, you got your reality, something becomes real if enough people believe that it's real, and then go on to suggest that your mom's view is to support the fascists that are taking away rights, that are making it worse for everybody except for the fascists. That tells me your mom's a fascist or a fascist sympathizer, and so are you. It's like the guy posts racist stuff and people are making excuses for it. You know what that tells me? Those people are racist, or they're okay with racist. Either way, there's still a problem. I mean, if you can't do better, I don't know. I don't know how this is. How do we get to a proof of a God? Well, we're probably not going to get any, but we got another caller who's been on hold for an hour and 13 minutes through some absolute bullshit. But Mary's on from Florida. How you doing, Mary?
Though. We got one thing before we go to our next caller.
Oh, yes.
If we need to and do a throwdown, my mama versus his mama, my mama wins every time. We're going to have a mama off. My mama wins.
I'll stay out of that one. All right.
Hey, Matt. Amen to your sermon you just gave.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was fabulous.
You had questions for Aaron,
yeah,
so.
Just briefly, I want to talk to Dr. Adair about, I just saw a little 20-minute clip about the James Webb telescope getting really far away pictures. And they saw some tiny red dots and some information. I can't repeat it verbatim, but bottom line was, the synopsis is that it looks like what they found can possibly fit the Big Bang, Big Crunch model hypothesis. Have you heard anything about that?
I've heard what the claim is, and I think I can articulate what it is. With the
Okay, thank you.
so with the James Webb Space Telescope, our newest, bestest space-based observation tool, we're now able to photograph galaxies further away and further back in time than we could with telescopes like Hubble. And especially because we're using infrared, we can see even more redshifted objects. So with redshift, when an object moving away from you, the light actually moves more towards the red end of the spectrum. And if it's extreme enough, it's no longer even invisible light. It goes into infrared. So James Webb can see better and farther than any previous telescope we've launched into space. And so it's now able to discover things that we couldn't before. And we have not only been impressed by what it sees, but we're actually surprised that it's seeing galaxies as far away and as far back in time as they are now, because there were hypotheses that galaxies of those sizes would not have been able to develop at that time. When we're talking about at that time, our universe comes from its hot, dense state, the Big Bang, approximately 13.7 billion years ago, billion with a B. And we're now seeing galaxies forming 300 or 400 million years after the Big Bang, which is both quite a long time after the Big Bang, but also extremely early in the universe, because this is still over 13 billion years ago. And our various models for like the formation of galaxies were being a bit surprised by these, that they're kind of like on the outer edge of what our expectations are. So some people are wondering, okay, how do we need to adjust our models to account for galaxies forming earlier than we were expecting? And this is an active area of discussion and debate. It's not really going to be overturning the Big Bang itself for a few reasons. One is it's still the case that all the galaxies we see are moving away from us, showing that there is expansion. And if they're expanding away from us, run the clock back, that means they used to be closer. That's still exactly what you expect on Big Bang of everything moving apart. They must have been closer together earlier on. And also we have the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of that incredibly hot, dense state. So we're not going to be throwing out the Big Bang. What's most likely going to happen is our models are going to have to be changing that account for this data. And a lot of those details, I don't know enough of the astrophysics involved of what parameters might need to be tweaked. Is it something that we could use to say, oh, this puts a new constraint on what dark matter is? Or is it the case that, oh, this could add additional evidence that dark energy is changing over time? There's been evidence gathered to actually suggest that dark energy is not this constant value, that it actually might evolve over time. That's still debated. Again, there are unknowns, and when you put a lot of unknowns into your model, you get big error bars. And so this thing kind of stands out on the outer edge of the error bars and makes us wonder, okay, what do we need to change to fit better? But saying that this is evidence of a new universe or evidence that everything we know about Big Bang cosmology is wrong is overblown.
No, that's not what I was implying. I was thinking I've heard the hypothesis of the Big Bang, Big Crunch, and that those just keeps getting repeated billions and billions and billions of years, and that one day our universe will go into reverse, and it'll take billions of years and then just kind of crunch back in on itself and have another Big Bang. And does that make sense? Or am I totally wrong about this hypothesis I've heard about?
You are correct that there are models that make the universe cyclic, and for the most part, they are not favored by modern cosmologists because we don't see the universe slowing down its expansion rate. It's actually increasing. That's what dark energy is doing. For models like that, for the universe to crunch back, dark energy would have to go basically from a positive value to a negative value. And while there is some potential evidence that the value of dark energy is changing, there isn't anything to support that it will go negative and then suck the universe back together in some sort of cosmic vacuum cleaner sort of sense. So it's not impossible, like we haven't disproven that, but there is no real good evidence to favor that kind of Big Bang Bin Crunch model at this point. I might
Right.
eat my
Yeah,
words
there's
in
not
10
enough
years, but
evidence
right now,
to make it a theory.
yeah. I mean, it's a theory in that we can go out and make predictions, and so far, the predictions are not turning out well. But like I say, in 10 years, maybe new evidence comes to light that shows, oh, we now have this new model of dark energy. Here's new predictions it makes that we can see it come true. And the model also says eventually dark energy will switch its direction and start being attractive rather than repulsive. Maybe that will happen in 10,
Right.
20 years of research. I initially doubt it, but the one thing about science is I get to wake up and get proven wrong, and I love it when science teaches me something new.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I, check into the James Webb Telescope quite often. So,
Oh yeah,
all right.
I would say I would say we
I'll
need to build several more of those. Unfortunately, current administration wanted to gut that kind of funding. So call your senator and say build more telescopes.
don't get me started on this administration now. I'll be on an hour. I'll be preaching like Matt. All right,
Amen,
I'll let
sister.
y'all go and get to more theists.
Well,
And
I'd love to, except that there aren't any. And that's a really good opportunity for me to point out that today's been a weird day with some, I don't know why we're getting to the point where almost nobody seems like they're willing to even attempt to defend a god. But I'm going to let you go, Mary, and hopefully, if nothing else, maybe Aaron and I will address the impact of new understandings of physics on the various God models or something. But appreciate the call, Mary. So yeah, we have lines completely open. And, it's worth kind of, by the way, if you're, I'm starting to think that there are no people left who are willing to have an honest conversation about their God, where when you point out a potential problem or ask a question, they can actually answer it. It feels that way. I don't think that's actually true. I think there's probably a lot of people out there, maybe because it's Super Bowl Sunday. It is Super Bowl Sunday, right?
Superb Owl Day.
Superb Owl Day, yes. Maybe that's causing it. It's everybody's getting ready for that Kid Rock Turning Point USA halftime show because the Bad Bunny one wasn't American enough, so they had to get somebody in there who actually wrote songs about liking underage girls, and then put it in a kids movie, no less. Osmosis Jones. That's how wild is that?
I did not realize that was in there. Okay.
Yep.
I should note this. I usually don't watch sports games, and before he was slated to play for the halftime show, I never even heard of Bad Bunny. But given the reactions by people whose politics I don't agree with, I might just turn on the halftime show just to be spiteful and make myself culturally aware of what everyone else in the country is attached to.
Yep. I know Green Day is going to be, actually, I don't even know what time anything starts. For all I know, Green Day is performing right now because I think they were doing a pre-show. And I didn't know much at all about Bad Bunny. I'm not even sure if I'd heard the name. Definitely wasn't familiar with his music until the Republicans, and well, not just the Republicans. I should probably stop doing that. Where the extreme right MAGA folks lost their damn minds. And it's in part because they don't even know that Puerto Rico, somebody's born in Puerto Rico, they're an American citizen. And so they're like, oh, this is another one of those foreigners like we're trying to, and they just kept talking about, oh, and he doesn't speak English, he doesn't sing it. Yes, there are American citizens that you probably would not recognize MAGA as American citizens, and Bad Bunny might be one of them. What's weird, though, is when you go back and look at all the previous Super Bowl halftime shows, there have been plenty of people who are not American citizens or even primarily in America who have performed at those, and nobody lost their mind.
I was protesting when the Rolling Stones were doing the Super Bowl. It's like, oh no, we can't have those Brits taking over.
Yeah. Same thing with U2, and it's wild. And yet now it's like, oh, we need an American. Well, you have an American, doing the halftime show, and you have some Americans doing the pre-show. But they decided Turning Point USA, I don't know, Charlie Kirk's Mistress's fundraising shill group, decided that they're going to have Kid Rock, who's the lyrics to his song was like young women, I like them underage. Some call it statutory. I call it mandatory. And this song was actually in the kids' movie Osmosis Jones and on the soundtrack, as my understanding. And this is what America is. This is what it means to be a real American, according to these people. These people who absolutely oppose what the Constitution sets out to protect, oppose the rule of law, and how you're supposed to have, a warrant from a federal judge before you can go marching into people's houses. And not only were they doing it without warrants, but then they decided that they would just lie and they would get a warrant that wasn't from a federal judge, but was from a local judge, which, well, I don't know why any judge is doing this, but you can get a judge to do whatever you want if once politics are involved. And then they show
politics,
up with a warrant in their hand and they're like, we've got a warrant.
Speaking of politics, we have a caller who wants to talk about your politics.
Oh, I have Trump derangement syndrome. All right, cool. Tim from New York, pronouns are him. Tim says, I have Trump derangement syndrome. What is that and how can you diagnose it?
It's an obsessive, I don't know if hatred is the right word, but...
Oh, I hate him.
You hate him. Okay, maybe it could be an obsessive hatred, but I'll let you know when I think of a better word for that. But an obsessive distraughtness, can you think of a better word? Regarding the current president.
Not just the president, the administration that's using him as a puppet as well. But yeah. What's deranged about it, though? I mean, because they're violating our rights, and that concerns me.
Well, I mean, I've been listening to you since I've seen clips from you from at least like the Bush era, and you were not going about, I mean, you did say things, but like not to this level. About how he's such a baby. Are you saying
that there were? Are you saying that things were not better under Bush than they are now?
Things were not. I mean, at the end of his presidency, they were horrible. I think they're better than after that economic. I mean, and we lost a lot of rights after 9/11. I think he was a horrible president, and I think you would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time talking about it, but you know what? He still respected the rule of law and due process, and we weren't actively shutting down LGBTQ rights. We weren't actively. We still had rights. A woman had a right to choose. All of that stuff is going away, and we didn't have masked men in the streets killing people and violating their rights.
Okay, well, I want to start with the LGBT stuff because Trump came into office.
Of course, you do.
He said he respects the decision on gay marriage, and he's had gay marriages at his Mar-a-Lago resort. So, I mean, the idea that this is some crazy tyrannical anti-gay person that's just made up. Like,
I'm sorry, Tim. Trump can say whatever he wants, but he's a liar. And my objection isn't just to Trump, it's to the administration, as I pointed out, and the people who are using Trump, because Trump's not very bright and they're using him as a puppet. So it's the Project 2025 Christo-fascists that are. So did trans people have more rights now that Trump's in charge again than they did before?
What's are you talking about? Like the sports? Is that what you're talking about? I don't know.
No.
Specific? Hormone treatment.
Nope.
Okay, well, tell me then. I'm not sure.
Why should I tell you? You called in to tell me I have a derangement syndrome, and what we're finding out is that you don't have even a basic understanding of what's going on, because trans people used to be able to serve openly in the military, and now they can't.
Were they able to serve under George W. Bush?
I don't know why that's relevant, nor do I know what the position. I'm sorry, would you let me finish my fucking thought before you decide to go rampaging off with another irrelevant thing? The issue here is not, is Trump better or worse than Bush? It's, is Trump better or worse than what we had with Biden and Obama? And under Biden and Obama, yes, they were allowed to serve.
Okay.
So are they better off or worse off under Trump?
So maybe they're worse.
I'm sorry.
Off, yeah.
Are they better off or worse off under Trump?
Okay, so they're worse off. Okay.
Okay, so they're worse off. Also, is the economy better now than it was?
I think the economy is going well. To be honest with you, I think it's on the up.
Okay. Well, you're factually wrong. You're factually wrong. I don't have the data in front of me, and there's no reason to really go through it. When Obama deported more people than Trump ever has, did they follow due process procedures for that?
Well, they did expedited removal.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Trials.
The question was, I'm sorry. Did they violate due process?
I think you would say they did.
I'm sorry. Did they violate due process? Tim, did they violate due process or not?
No, neither did. But I would say under Trump, they're not violating it either. We have a disagreement.
No, Tim, you can say that all day long, but they are violating due process. They are going into homes without, I'm sorry, you don't get to talk when I'm talking. You don't know what you're talking about. They have thrown due process out the window. They do not require, they are actively lying. Did you not hear me just describe how they're telling these masked federal agents to pretend like they have warrants from federal judges when they don't? We weren't running around scooping up people off the streets. We weren't scooping people up and deporting them without going through the process. That has fundamentally changed.
Well, when they apprehended them near the border, they would do the same thing. It's just they weren't doing it further within the United States, but they were doing that with expedited removal. Expedited. They were doing the same thing. They weren't giving them trials, and they were just scooping up and kicking them out.
I'm sorry. Nobody said anything at all about trials. We talked about due process.
Okay.
Do you even know what due process is?
Yeah, it depends on the situation.
No. What's due process? What does due process mean?
It's the procedures to which you are entitled.
Yes.
Under the law.
And are you entitled based on your citizenship?
No, not necessarily.
No, not at all. See, the Constitution describes it as persons, not citizens. Are persons in the United States being denied their due process under this administration? Yes or no?
I don't believe so.
Then you're factually fucking wrong.
Well, then we disagree on that. But can I?
No.
Do you think
you shouldn't be calling in to tell me that I have a derangement syndrome when you don't know what the hell you're talking about? What is deranged about my view?
You're a lawyer, right?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to mute you because you're dumb as fuck. I'm objecting to a fascist regime that is scrubbing factual information from the websites, that has put an absolute lunatic anti-science nut in charge of Health and Human Services, who has a puppy-killing garbage person leading Homeland Security in violating people's rights, and he's sending masked troops, his special Gestapo secret police. He's not sending them into Texas, where there's a lot of immigrants, perhaps undocumented. He's sending them into Minnesota. He's sending them into the states that did not vote for him. He is weaponizing the Justice Department repeatedly, consistently, to go after everyone who tried to prosecute him. He lies constantly. He's a racist who posted racist memes and then tried to excuse it and then wouldn't apologize for it. He has absolutely clueless, unqualified, garbage, alcoholic individuals running a number of different parts of this administration. They are responding to nothing. They are not following federal regulations. They are killing American citizens in the street. This shit didn't happen under Biden. It didn't happen under Bush. It didn't happen under Obama. This is an entirely different beast. It's not derangement syndrome to say that I'm an 8-year veteran of the United States military, and I'm defending the Constitution. I'm defending what the Constitution is supposed to be while these people are ignoring it. Meanwhile, he's mentioned repeatedly in the Epstein files, his best friend for about 10 years, and he and all of these other people, yes, including Clinton, all of them are mentioned in there, and not just in passing. These are individuals who are working to defend child rapists and sex traffickers. I need to know, and this is the only thing I care about, because I definitely have Trump syndrome. I would call it a defense of the constitutional syndrome, because I took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And Trump is absolutely, and everyone involved with MAGA, a domestic enemy of the Constitution. Where is the derangement that you're talking about? Where is my position that is deranged? And by that, irrational. What is that? Tell me that one.
Well, I think you're refused to apply the same reasoning to, like I said, like Obama. You're not.
Okay, I'm sorry that you're so stupid, Tim. I asked you where the derangement was, where was the irrational, and you said I failed to apply the same reasoning to Obama. But I literally did just go through and give you a list of things that are different now than they were under Obama and Biden and Bush. I granted it for all of them. I'm using the same reasoning. I'm saying that these constitutional violations are occurring now, and this takeover is occurring now. I'm literally using the exact same reasoning, and even gave credit to the other Republicans. So once again, I'll try this again. Where's the derangement? Where's the irrationality? Please try again, Tim.
It's just a refusal to give any credit or look at things objectively. Look at when it comes to the economy.
I'm sorry. I just did a show a few weeks ago when he had his 1 year thing. You're saying I'm not looking at it objectively. When I take you off mute, I need you to present an objective fact that contradicts what I've said. Because I also, on that show, went through the economy in detail and talked about what was better and what was not better. Trump is lying about gas prices. They are better. They are not as good as what he's claiming. He's claiming that there are many states that have been under $2 a gallon, but no state has had a statewide gas price under $2.37 since he took over. I actually went through the data, farmed it from a bunch of different sources. I've got probably 75 to 100 different screenshots from different studies and surveys and different sources on the economy. I went through and presented the facts. This guy is lying all the time. So, once again, where am I objectively wrong and where am I deranged or irrational? Try again, Tim. You're doing great.
I told you your derangement is your refusal to apply the same scrutiny to.
I'm sorry, Tim. I've already addressed that. I apply the same scrutiny to all of them. If Obama and Clinton and Bush and Biden, if any of them had done this, I would be calling them out for this as well. If you're just going to keep repeating your failed arguments, we're going to move on to somebody else. So once again, Tim, where am I objectively wrong or deranged? Last chance.
So I'm sorry. Ask the question one more time. You keep cutting me off. You keep muting me. So can you ask the question one more time, please?
I'm sorry that this is difficult for you. Where am I objectively wrong or deranged?
Regarding what? Regarding Trump's presidency?
Never mind, Tim. We don't care. You can't keep up with a simple question. Go away. You called in to say that I have Trump derangement syndrome. You essentially said that I'm using a special set of criteria to evaluate Trump that I didn't use for anybody else. You're demonstrably wrong. All I asked was, where am I objectively wrong? And by the way, I've probably been wrong, factually, objectively wrong about any number of things over the years. But if you're going to call in to say that I'm deranged and you don't know what's going on, and you just keep repeating yourself, I mean, we got better things to do with our time.
If I can put myself a little bit on record here, when Bush was starting the war on terror, and that was becoming so much the talking points, I was in end of high school, beginning of college, and I remember having conversations with friends about what are we even meaning by this word terrorism, terrorist, terror, especially when it's the war on terror, which is an emotional state, and realizing this becomes so nebulous and so easy to wield. What would stop the president from calling me a terrorist and then throwing me into Gitmo? And a lot of that discussion was ultimately theoretical. We've seen with this administration, they gun down people in the streets and then call them terrorists because they have to be to explain why they had to shoot them. And as we see with all the video, absolutely not quite the opposite. We had the thugs out there with either poor training or, as it seems to be, no, they are actually trained. They're just that kind of terrible of people and acting like the worst kind of secret police that we claim are in Iran, in East Germany during the Cold War, things like that. All the stuff that we talked about, all the other countries and how terrible they are, we decided to give that kind of organization billions of dollars and gun us in the street and then call us terrorists. So the stuff that I worried about effectively as an older kid has been coming true in this administration. Holy shnikes. That has to be scary. And also, just as a note, when it comes to the economy, gas prices going down doesn't mean the economy is better. The lowest our gas prices were in recent history was in 2000 because demand dried up because we were all staying at home.
Yep.
You don't use gas prices to say how well an economy is doing. We have other measures for that. GDP is often one of them, and its growth has been lackluster and occasionally negative in some of the recent quarters. So if anything, if we compare the last year of Trump and the last year of Biden, it's night and day. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because inflation had spiked a ton during Biden and it was on the decline. And now it's back to basically flat levels around 3% that it's been off and on for, I don't know, ages. I don't have the charts in front of me because I wasn't expecting this. But it's like
last annualized quarter of GDP, or sorry, the last annualized inflation numbers was about 2.7%, which is above the Fed's rate, which is part of the reason why the Fed has now been lowering rates, and also because of the inflationary method that Trump has been using of tariffs. So actually, he's been the one forcing inflation up and then getting pissed off that the Fed looks at what he's doing, tries to counteract the bullshit he's doing to the economy, claiming that inflationary things are inflationary and trying to basically go Erdogan on controlling our money supply. And if you know about what's been going on in Turkey for the last 10 years, you'll realize why it's a bad thing, letting the president dictate monetary policy.
It's really strange. It's, hey, he's going to stop that war on day one. Still going, by the way. There's still war in Ukraine, still a genocide happening in Gaza. And now we're finding out more thanks to the Epstein files. There's all kinds of stuff we learned from the Epstein files that don't have anything to do with sex trafficking or anything else. We find connections between rich people trying to cover their ass, connections between people in governments in different places and what they're talking about. There's an audio call from, I believe it's the Israeli defense minister on there with Epstein and others. And they were terrified that they were going to end up in a one-state solution that was Arab majority. And so they're talking about opening up the definition of Judaism to more like proselytizing and encouraging people to participate so that they didn't end up in an Arab state. And by the way, you have a right and should have a right to believe whatever you want and to have a space. But I'm not going to advocate for an ethno state. I'm not going to deny when a genocide is taking place. I'm not going to pretend like this is an easy thing to solve or anything else, but Trump said it was an easy thing to solve. And what was his most clear suggestion on solving it? Oh, let's turn Gaza into the Riviera of the Mediterranean. Let's put some really good hotels there. And I mean, this is how he thinks. I don't even, I joked about him shitting himself on TV the other day. It's not the first time, and we've got, concerns about the health. That's just levity. Do I hate Trump? You bet. And I'm getting closer, and I hate the fact that I hate him. I hate the people who are still supporting him, and I hate people like Tim who don't bother to actually look at the information and say, "Ooh, this isn't what I thought it was," and then accuse other people of not being objective. You're going to cherry pick. Oh, if you asked me, Tim, I know you're gone now, but if you had asked me, is there anything good that Trump has done just in this administration? I would say, I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are several things that I would agree with. I'm sure there are several things that I would say, yep, that's good. I can't think of anything off the top of my head because every single day is a parade of lies and misinformation and attacks on citizens and their rights and non-citizens and their rights as well. It is absolutely, this government, Project 2025, if they have their way, will declare me a violent extremist domestic terrorist merely because I support trans rights. A tiny portion of the population, less than 1% of the population is trans. There are, and then when they get busted for turning that portion of the population into a boogeyman to scare everybody, they're trans and everybody, they're trans and your kids. That's right up there with they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. No, they're fucking not. And there's barely any. We want to keep women's sports safe. Okay, women's sports are safe. Probably safer than from encroachment than they should be. There are some sports where we've divided things up based on gender, where there's no justification for dividing them based on gender. It's just men have been in such a privileged position in the United States for so long that women weren't encouraged to participate, and so we needed to have women's sports. We needed to have separate groupings, not because it's necessarily unfair in every one of them. Are there sports where there's going to be a disparity between genders? Yeah. On average, yeah. Are there others where it doesn't make any sense? Like, why should there be women's grandmasters in chess? Are we saying that women just aren't as good at chess as men are? Biologically? Sociologically? Is there some deficiency there? I know, by the way, I know some women in chess, seriously, who are opposed to the WGM title. It has a lower bar for them to become a grandmaster. I'm in favor of that sort of support because that's how we overcome a massive systemic problem where women have been sidelined, where people of color have been sidelined, where there's a privilege disparity. And so young boys are encouraged to participate in pick your sport, pick your thing, and young girls aren't. And so by setting up special categories, we find a way to address that, to encourage participation, not participation trophies, participation, which changes the cultural view of who should be participating in what and what should be special. And then you get towards a truly equal system where it's equality of opportunity and where divisions based on sex, gender, whatever category, your hair color, the amount of testosterone in your system, whatever it is, has a good justification and not merely we've always done it this way, or we're trying to make up for the problems that we've had. There are women's sports that only survive because the men's sports make money, and they take money from what the men's sports earn and they give it to the women's sports. And it's in part because nobody wants to watch. And I say nobody, I don't actually mean nobody. I mean, we as a society haven't put value on that to encourage it to be self-sufficient. That has nothing to do with Trump, by the way. And by the way, as much as I sit here and rail about MAGA and Project 2025 and Trump, you know who I spent the most time addressing over the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Democrats. I've called and left message on the Democrats who voted to continue funding ICE. I think I've called Chuck Schumer's office and left messages. I left a voice message once. I left a written message another time asking him to resign as a feckless, useless, I can turn a winning position into a loss, garbage individual. It's time to allow somebody who wants to do the job to do the job, in part because Schumer flatly said part of his job is to secure as much aid for Israel as possible. No, it's not. We have allies and we're working with people. And by the way, I want to support our allies and not even getting into, whether or not there should be an ethno state or anything else. That's not your job, Chuck. And it's definitely not your job to run around telling people how pro-Israel you are when that's not what your constituents want. And when there are other issues that you are avoiding. And why are there masked federal agents in democratic cities killing people? You don't have a derangement syndrome when you look around the world and you see, wow, all those terrible things that we were afraid of, that we warned people about, the ones we thought could never happen, the ones that definitely couldn't happen here to the shining city on the hill, they're happening. America's broken. The United States of America, I shouldn't keep using America. The United States of America is a failed project right now. We got some work to do.
It's a republic if we can keep it.
We have a couple of calls. And one of them's a theist. So let me stop sermonizing, and let's see if Howard from New York, pronouns are he, him. Howard's calling as a theist, wants to present arguments in favor of the existence of God, and he can't shake the belief that there is one. Hey, Howard, thank you so much for calling. I really hope that you've got some good arguments for Aaron and myself.
Thanks for having me on. I actually hope my arguments are terrible, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, there's a switch.
Yeah, I just to provide context, I told the call screener this, but I was raised Orthodox religious, and I don't observe. I still believe there's a high likelihood there is a God, but I have the same objections to the things you and others have pointed out in the Bible in terms of the injustices and just horrific decision making in laws and so forth, that even if there is one, I don't care. But
okay, so what gets you to?
There seems to be enough evidence. Sorry, go ahead.
What gets you to a high likelihood? Because I have a difficulty putting any likelihood on a God, let alone high.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go through it mathematically. I know I probably shouldn't have used that language because I can't give you the math.
I'm fine with approximations. Thanks for clarifying.
Fine. Okay. So there are several different things that I believe point to it, so that when one looks at the evidence in total, it seems to suggest this high likelihood. One of them, and many of these are things you've covered before. There's the intelligent design problem. As I understand it, and I'm not just name dropping here, but Stephen Hawking wrote the book Grand Design, where he and others concluded that the parameters of the universe are designed in such a way to lead to galaxies forming and black holes and human life. And his conclusion was, we happen to live in the universe that supports it, has the right parameters for that, out of the multiverse of universes. And that statistically, there has to be at least one universe that has all the parameters lined up so that could be conscious beings like us. But if that's the alternative, that seems pretty unlikely, that there would be an infinite set of multiverses. That seems just as hard to believe as if there's just one universe.
You say that's hard to believe, but Howard, there is something worth noting. Believing that there's more than one universe shouldn't be that hard because we know there's at least one universe. We can at least show one universe exists. To say that there's only one then becomes the claim that it's hard to justify. And on the other hand, if the reason you don't that you prefer God is that you don't like the multiverse, again, we can at least tell there's one universe. Saying there's more than one doesn't seem implausible. Gods, we can't actually confirm any by any scientific means. I should also note, we do have independent reasons to think there is something like a multiverse besides the things about fine-tuning. Many people will claim that fine-tuning came up and then we just started saying, well, there must be multiple universes to explain why we got lucky. We actually have independent reasons to think that there are multiple universes. Our best cosmological model has something called inflation. It's something that explains some of the issues that were with earlier models of the Big Bang Theory. And inflation naturally produces an infinite number of universes. It just keeps popping out universes on its own automatically. And that inflation was created to deal with things and be tested with things in cosmology we can do today, not to explain away the fine-tuning issue.
Right. Okay. I'm not aware that the theory says that inflation causes multiple universes.
The very book you were mentioning, The Grand Design, talks about inflation.
Yes. Okay. And that the inflation causes the extra universes to pop into existence?
It's constantly producing universes. The inflation is basically an ongoing process, and it's creating bubble universes continuously. That's the most natural form of inflation. Do you have inflation not continuously producing universes? You actually have to fine-tune it out of the inflation model.
And these bubble universes are complementary universes like ours that expand on their own and have whatever scientific parameters they have that are different than our universe?
That's at least consistent with inflation. When you say complementary, I'm not quite sure what you mean, but that they would be separate universes and they could potentially have different constants of nature. And this assumes that the constants of nature could even be different. That's one other possibility, is that maybe the constants of nature are actually mathematical facts in the same way that pi is this exact value and it's just a product of geometry. For all we know, that's what the speed of light ultimately is. We don't know that, but assuming the constants can change, then these different universes could have different values. And the idea that there are multiple universes naturally pops out of our various physics theories.
Okay. And that these bubble universes that pop out are caused by inflation would be likely to have different parameters in the constants than our universe. Why wouldn't they just have the same parameters? That seems much more plausible.
Well, I don't know why you would think that's more plausible. It's not like you've looked at the physics, but most importantly, the only way that they would all have the same parameters is it's some sort of like a mathematical fact that requires that to be the case, in the same way that the fact that pi equals 3.1415, et cetera, that is a fact of geometry. It couldn't be otherwise based on the axioms of geometry. If it's the case that the speed of light is the same in every possible universe, then there must be some sort of effectively like geometric or mathematical reason that it couldn't be some other value. And at least right now, we don't have any grounds for that. Also, I will add on top of that, the idea that the fine-tuning is somehow unlikely, that actually then requires the idea that not only could the constants be different, but that we know what ranges are more or less probable. And it's actually the case that a couple of Christian philosophers have pointed out we don't actually have background reasons to choose what those values would be, what the probability density would be. And since it's unbounded, you literally cannot talk about how probable or improbable it is. Like literally, you cannot do the math. So strangely enough, the Christians are on my side saying this doesn't work.
Well, now I'm doubly glad that I couldn't do the math. But going back to your first point, if a bubble universe is created by the inflation of this universe, it would seem to follow, and you can tell I'm not a physicist, but it would seem to follow that universe caused by our universe would have the
our universe doesn't cause the other universes. The inflationary field, or sometimes called the inflaton field, creates our universe amongst others. Our universe is not the source of those other universes. We are the byproduct of the inflaton field.
I see. Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you said that inflationary force was creating bubble universes.
I'm also, just for clarity, I'm learning, and I'm happy to keep going down this road. But you started off by basically citing Stephen Hawking, who, by the way, didn't believe in a god or a creator. But I'm wondering, is all of your aggregate, because you said it's several things point to a god, and the aggregate gives it the high likelihood. Are all of the things that point to a god speculative physics about other universes, or do we have something substantive to address here? I'm fine either way. I just want to know if we're going to keep going down these paths that, even if this model suggested that there was some sort of tuning, why on earth would that mean it was a thinking agent that still exists and qualifies as any god?
In response to your first part of your question, no, the other things are different. They don't have to do with this issue.
I'll wait for those. I want to let you and Aaron keep doing the physics that I know nothing about.
Well, in response to the second question that you just asked, I think and I'm trying not to use terms that are suggesting the conclusion, I'm trying to be careful, but by saying that if we go with the fact that with a conclusion that the parameters are fine-tuned for a certain result, let's say conscious life, let's just say that's the result, that the fine-tuning, that language itself suggests that it was something intelligence behind it.
Why?
Because otherwise, if it's just...
Actually, Howard, there's something interesting about that argument, and when you do the math about it, you're not going to like the result. It actually becomes an argument for atheism.
You might like that result, actually.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
Let me actually give you an interesting example, because I was just recently reading, for the hell of it, stuff from John Calvin. He was arguing the fact that we are on dry land is a miracle, because the physics of his time said, well, water is less dense than land, or less dense than earth, so water should be on top of all the land, so there shouldn't be any dry land anywhere. So it must be that God has created dry land and is keeping it dry, that naturally the water would all come in and we'd all be flooded right now. So John Calvin literally looked at the fact there's dry land as evidence for God. Now, this is because his physics was wrong. To be fair, he's in the 16th century. He doesn't know what we know. But still, that's the idea of saying, according to nature, we shouldn't have this sort of stuff, and yet we do. That would be interesting. If we could exist, even though nature wouldn't allow us to exist, that would be evidence of the supernatural. I would then agree with that argument. With fine-tuning, realize this. Could God have created the universe where the laws of nature could not produce conscious beings, and yet conscious beings could exist?
If you said that the laws of nature could not, and if we posit that the laws of nature are the only things operating, then no, conscious beings could not exist.
I'm saying if we had the laws, I'm saying, but God, though, could God put conscious beings in a universe that itself couldn't allow for conscious beings?
I'm sorry to be particular. When you say couldn't allow for, do you mean that couldn't support conscious beings being alive, or wouldn't on its own create them?
Could God
would it on its
create?
own wouldn't sustain them?
Let me try a rough analogy, if I can. Could God create oxygen-breathing humans on a world that was 100% encompassed by water so that they had to live under the water?
It's possible for oxygen-breathing creatures like marine mammals to live underwater, to come up and breathe and so forth. But
no, completely underwater.
Okay, completely. So can't come up the air. All right. So the answer is he could.
All right. I'm saying the same sort of thing here, though.
Live very long.
Well, the whole point, though, is
I
God
give up.
could. Well, so I'm going to actually slightly modify Matt's analogy. Could God have me live on the moon right now without a spacesuit or anything? Could God allow me to walk around the moon in my current clothes?
No.
So it's impossible for God to keep me alive on the moon?
It's not impossible. He would have to break the laws of nature to make it work.
But that's something God can do, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, that is my whole point. God could create life in a universe that couldn't actually have life in it because God is more powerful than nature. That's standard theology. That's what you'd expect from the supernatural. It can overcome whatever is in nature. In the same way I mentioned with John Calvin, his understanding of nature wouldn't even allow us to have dry land. The fact that dry land exists is because of the supernatural. So if we use that logic here with fine-tuning, if we're saying fine-tuning is required for life, on naturalism, the only kind of universe conscious beings could find itself in, given naturalism, is universes that are fine-tuned for life. But supernaturalism says conscious beings could find itself in a universe where the constants of nature are not fine-tuned for life, because again, God is all-powerful. So strangely enough, fine-tuning is expected on naturalism and not expected on supernaturalism. It actually becomes evidence for naturalism.
And then you have to ask the really difficult question, which is, why would God create life in such a way that it appears possible for life to begin, change, evolve, and stay alive purely through natural laws without any intervention from God? Why would God do something that completely hides his existence such that it's not relevant?
Of course, I don't know. The best we could do is speculate, but I wouldn't know that answer.
Actually, maybe the best you could do is say, I don't know, and then ask yourself the follow-up question, why do I keep believing in something when I don't know what it's capable of or why it does anything or anything about it?
Well, your argument doesn't show that it didn't happen.
I'm sorry, Howard, for clarity, is it the case that it's reasonable to believe something happened until Matt proves that it didn't?
No.
No, so why did you bring that up?
You're sorry to be pedantic. Your prior point, I think I understood you to be saying that why did God create us in a way that we appear to be caused purely by natural reasons? Why wouldn't he create us in a way that we would see that he did it for us? That's sort of what I thought you were asking.
Okay.
And I'm saying, I don't know, and that doesn't prove he didn't do it that way.
It doesn't. Correct. I don't need you to ever tell me that doesn't prove it didn't happen. That's irrelevant. It's on you to prove that it did happen. There's no reason to think that it happened. When I point out fallacies, when I point out problems in arguments, that doesn't prove the conclusion isn't true. It just shows that that argument isn't sufficient to warrant a rational belief. You're here to try to defend a rational belief. I'm not here to disprove God. I'm here to either accept your rational argument or to reject your rational argument. And so far, we keep rejecting your arguments because they aren't rational. And now your response is, well, that doesn't prove it didn't happen that way. Correct. So fucking what?
And Howard, I will add on top of this my same, I could say, mathematical point, that everything we observe is consistent on naturalism, is 100% expected on naturalism. There is no a priori reason to expect the God to just let nature do everything. That's a particular form of God, and honestly, a very fine-tuned version of God. It has to be a very particular kind of God that wants to create the universe in exactly the way that we see it came out, but also happens to be the exact same version of what it looks like when there is no God involved. So one version, 100% expected, the other one, not 100% expected. That actually then becomes evidence for naturalism automatically. Even if God does want to do things that particular way, because there's no expectation that that's what God wants, then you have to either say it's evidence against the hypothesis, or you now have to make the prior probability lower because now you have a very particular version of God. This is the basic mathematical or statistical reasoning that on either approach makes God less likely, not more likely, on the very evidence that you are presenting for God.
The point of the fine-tuning argument, as I understand it, is that these parameters were set at the moment of the creation of the universe.
And my whole point to that is, Howard, earlier I mentioned that God could have created the entire universe could have created life in the universe, even if it wasn't possible for the universe to have life in it because of the supernatural. The fact that we see everything consistent with naturalism is expectedly 100% expected on naturalism and is peculiar on supernaturalism.
I agree that the universe is completely naturalistic, but the point of the fine-tuning argument is that the universe was created with the parameters so that it
that might be the argument, but I've gone through the premises and show that it actually gets you the opposite conclusion when you actually think through the conclusion fully. That might be the argument that theists keep throwing out, but because they haven't actually thought through properly what supernaturalism entails and realize, oh, on naturalism, only fine-tuned universes can have life in them. On supernaturalism, any universe could have life in them because supernatural beings can do whatever the hell they want. The fact that we find ourselves in the kind of universe that can only be consistent with a universe fine-tuned for life means, hey, it looks like everything is consistent with naturalism.
Okay, I agree everything is consistent with naturalism, and there would be no point to fine-tuning the parameters if a supernatural being was going to constantly intervene and put humans where they wouldn't have otherwise been made, and so forth.
You've basically now just said that God doesn't have to do anything, which again means not only is there no evidence for God, but this is exactly the kind of universe we expect if there are no gods. It's still actually evidence for atheism.
I think you just said something, Howard, that you probably want to stop and reconsider or think about. You said that you agree everything is consistent with naturalism. Let's say that we come across a dead body, and everything about that body is consistent with death by natural causes. And you tell me, I agree, everything about this dead body is consistent with natural causes, but I still think it's highly likely it was murdered by Joe. Is that rational?
No, that would not be rational.
That's exactly what you're doing, isn't it?
No, I don't think the analogy is correct.
No, hang on. How can you say no? You have said that it is highly likely that there is a creator, and you've said that everything is consistent with naturalism. If everything is consistent with naturalism, How can it be highly likely there's a creator?
Because the fine tuning of the constants, as suggested by Stephen Hawking, whatever, and others.
Okay, I give up, Howard.
Leaves,
You at this
Howard,
point,
I've gone
you
through
are
this
beyond
5 times at
reason.
this point.
I mean, I've literally taken your exact argument and hand walked you through the preschool level of logic to show that you are in logical contradiction about what's rational. When you said that you agree everything is consistent with naturalism, that means it is not reasonable to conclude that something other than naturalism was involved. And you can see that when everything is consistent with death by natural causes, but you can't see it because somebody has convinced you about the special version of this argument. It is grossly irrational. It is an absolute epic failure in reasoning. And I don't know how else to, I can't make it any simpler, and yet you won't see it.
The reason why I don't think the analogy holds is because your dead body example, we are, as we are in every day, working in the naturalistic universe. So we know there's only naturalistic causes worth considering. The universe itself has, has an origin that we don't know. It could be there's a multiverse. It could be that it always existed.
No, I'm sorry, Howard. You don't understand the basics of analogies. And you don't, this is embarrassingly bad, Howard. A body is dead. We do not know what the cause is. We are trying to figure out if it was murdered. Yes, we're working in the natural world. That doesn't mean that it wasn't supernatural. How did you, if I said this body is dead, here, maybe this analogy will hit even harder. Here's a dead body. Howard, based on all of your understanding and based on everything we know from science, is this body's consistent with death by natural causes? And you say, I agree, it's consistent with death by natural causes, but I still think it's highly likely that ghosts did it. That's not any more rational. You wouldn't accept it even if a human, which is natural, did it. And you definitely won't accept it when ghosts did it. But now you're looking at the universe and saying, I agree, everything is consistent with naturalism, but I still think it's highly likely that something supernatural was involved. I mean, I don't understand how anybody can utter that, have it explained to them, and then try to fucking defend it. This is a direct contradiction. You can map this out. This is a strict fallacy. Your syllogism is invalid. It is impossible for you to create a valid syllogism with the propositions that you have affirmed.
In your example of the dead body, the underlying premise, the unstated premise of your example is that all the evidence that we have suggests it's a naturalistic cause.
Howard, stop.
If there were...
Howard, stop. You just agreed that all the evidence we have for the universe says that it's consistent with naturalism. Is that not what you agreed to?
I don't think so. I think what
okay, then I'm fucking
operates...
done, and I'm going to stop talking because we literally asked you, and your words that came out of your mouth were, I agree everything is consistent with naturalism. Those are the words that came out of your mouth. Are you changing your view now?
Except for the fine tuning.
I'm so done with you, Howard. I'm gonna go play a game of chess and allow Aaron to do it because Aaron is probably the only one here who has any hope of saving this absolute train wreck of confusion and dishonesty.
Howard, I do remember you saying everything was consistent with naturalism, but whether you misspoke or whether you want to modify things, either way, you're going to keep coming back to fine-tuning. And as I've said multiple times, a universe with life in it, given naturalism, expects fine-tuning. There is no way on naturalism it can go and find the constants of nature are inconsistent with the formation of life. So finding out the constants of nature are consistent with the existence of life in a universe with life in it is expected on naturalism. Only on supernaturalism could it be the case that life could exist in a universe that its beings go out, measure its constants, and realize, oh, the constants of nature are not consistent with life, and yet life still exists. Supernaturalism allows for any set of constants to work and life exist. On naturalism, only a subset of constant values are allowed. So on naturalism, we are seeing exactly what we should expect to see. On supernaturalism, it is surprising. Your argument is actually evidence against supernatural causation of the universe.
Okay.
I don't know how convinced you are by that, Howard, but this is also an argument that I have not created. A couple of statisticians first realized this conclusion in either it was the late 90s or early 2000s. And a few other people have also realized that they're correct and have been noting that. So this is not Aaron being weird. This is Aaron being familiar with the literature on fine-tuning.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind posting some of that in the chat, I'll grab and look at those links.
I would need to do some digging to find those sources, but let me see if I can do some quick searching in the meanwhile. But
okay, good.
Do you want to talk about a different reason for God? Because I'll see what I can find in the meanwhile.
I don't know. I think I pushed the limits for today, so probably best to call back another time.
Don't do that until you figure out what was wrong with what you said this time so that we can correct it, because I'm not going to have the patience to continue with someone who blatantly contradicts themselves after acknowledging something. Or at least don't do it with me.
Right. Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Howard. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know how else to do it. I mean, I thought I was like, oh, he just said he agrees everything is consistent with that. So if everything's consistent with naturalism, what's the justification for saying there's supernaturalism involved? Oh, the fine-tuning argument. What? By definition, if the fine-tuning argument suggests that supernaturalism is essential or required, then it is false to say everything is consistent with naturalism. I don't know how else to do it.
And just a quick bit of digging. The astronomer Bill Jeffries and statistician Michael Cada were some of the early folks to formulate this Bayesian reversal on what fine-tuning actually implies.
Yep.
So, and I think Sobel, another philosopher, has brought that up, but I have to confirm that. I don't want to just go by memory, but that's in my head if someone wants to triple check me on that. But yeah, that's
also,
there's many other issues with fine-tuning, but the fact that it's actually an argument for atheism is a favorite problem of mine.
Or an argument for naturalism, I suppose. But yeah. Oh, is it an argument for methodological naturalism? I'm just kidding. We'll get into that another time. Hey, by the way, it's worth pointing out my frustration with Howard is not Howard was great because Howard was someone who was honestly doing their best to present the reason why they're still believing and to engage as best they can. I don't expect anybody to come in and not. I would be shocked, like if somebody came in and presented a valid and sound evidence-based argument for God. Not only would I be shocked, I would be a believer because that's what I'm looking for. Give me a valid and sound evidence-based argument for anything, and I'm on board. Howard is dealing with some stuff, but Howard's not a troll. Howard's the type of people that even if it's frustrating, even if it doesn't get us anywhere, even if personally I'm just monumentally irritated that we can go through the like A equals B, B equals C, therefore A equals C, and we get nuh-uh. Um, that is frustrating for me doing this, but at least it's here to show that these are the sorts of problems that people are actually having, rather than God's real because Mama told me, or God's real because planets have plans. Those are not remotely honest about what they're believing, but they're not. I don't need everybody to be serious and knowledgeable about everything. If you were knowledgeable about everything, you'd already be here on my side, is what I'm convinced of. I may be wrong about that. All you got to do is prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, and I will stop saying that I'm the one that's right. Because right now, I'm the one that's right.
Oh, and speaking of being right, I was able to verify that, yes, the philosopher Elliot Sober also talks about this reversal of the fine-tuning argument, and he has a section in the Blackwell Guide to Philosophy of Religion that brings this up. So my memory was at least mostly working.
Well, we've got Matthew, who has a wonderful name, even if it's biblical. An atheist calling from Pennsylvania, pronouns are he, him, has a question for you about the gravity problem. Hey, Matthew, how are you?
Doing well. How are you today?
I go with the short version, so that makes me better.
Yes. So I've been waiting to get a hold of Dr. Adair for weeks now to ask him this question. I have a thought that I wanted to put to him. So regarding the gravity problem, there being not enough mass in the universe to hold the solar systems together. He could, I'm sure Dr. Adair could explain that far better than I could. But
so it sounds like actually you're talking about holding the galaxy together more than the solar system.
Okay. So my question is kind of tying several theories together here. So assuming if the string theory is correct and that there are multiple higher dimensions that we're unable to detect or interact with, but those higher dimensions could affect our lower dimension, and also if gravity persists throughout all dimensions, is it possible that matter in higher dimensions could explain the lack of visible mass in our universe?
Probably not, because the quantity that we're seeing needs to be something that needs to be a little bit more apparent, because the effects of these higher dimensions, assuming they exist, have not yet been detected with our best, most powerful tools for detecting even slight deviations from our current models of particle physics that don't include superstring theory, for example. So if we can't see any effect in the lab, that nothing won't expand very well to explain something that's a big problem. Most importantly, where there might be some utility is that there might be issues with the vacuum itself that, so when we're looking at dark energy, the thing that seems to be accelerating the rate of expansion of the universe, for it to even exist, the fact that it's not something as simple as zero means that there must be some sort of unexpected cancellation of different regimes of the kinds of waves of particles that could exist at the high and low ranges of our theories. And to get the cancellation to work out, so there's just the subtle amount that we are seeing that then over the entire universe adds up to the effect that we're seeing, is hard to explain. The most back of the envelope guesses of what that cancellation should be, what would be left over, is off from what we have by well over 100 orders of magnitude. That is, here's the value of what it is. Our value is that multiplied by 1, followed by over 100 zeros. It's basically about as wrong as you could be. So how do we get this to work? Some people suggest maybe that there are some nice cancellations that happen in string theory. I don't know where progress is there. I can't tell you confidently how good that works out, but that's like one of the dreams of string theory able to explain things like that. Now, that's irrelevant, though, when it comes to what's holding the galaxy together, because there seems to be extra mass that's holding things together. So specifically, this is related to dark matter. And when we're talking about what's holding the galaxy together, here's the basic problem. As you get further and further and further away from the center of the galaxy, but if you're still within the disk of the galaxy, the amount of mass that would basically be quote unquote below your feet is growing. And so the faster you would need to be whipping around in orbit around the galaxy to be holding there. And we see that just fine. Once you get outside the disk of the galaxy and there's no longer any stars there, you would then say, oh, there's now no more mass. So as you're getting further away, the force of gravity gets weaker and you should be going slower to maintain that kind of orbit. What we instead see is you get further away from the galaxy, you get outside the galaxy, and yet the speed of anything that's still zipping around is still going at that high speed rather than getting slower and slower, which is telling us either there's something wrong with our theory of gravity, or there's extra mass that we don't see that we're not accounting for. Most physicists go for the latter option, and there are multiple reasons for that. There are some proponents that go for what's called modified Newtonian dynamics, or MOND, as a version of modifying the theory of gravity to try to account for this as well. It hasn't been as successful, and there are some observations that aren't explained at all well by that, but it is an approach that exists. But talk to most cosmologists, they'll say there's some other additional kind of matter out there that we don't see, and what that matter is the big question that no one has a good answer for.
I think the caller dropped, but he might be here in the screening room. I just want to make sure it's the right number first.
All right. Yeah, I see a caller being screened. Okay. I was going to say, when he said there's a gravity problem, I didn't know it was a problem for me. I mean, other than as I eat more and more, I'm having more and more trouble getting out of my chair. That's kind of a gravity problem. And then there's the three-body problem, but that's more of a mathematical issue / sci-fi series.
I didn't watch the sci-fi series on that. I've heard good things, and I might eventually. While we're let's go ahead, just in case it's not the same one. Yep. Let's go ahead and hit Constantine real quick in Greece, who's been on hold for like an hour and wants to ask a question about free will. Pronouns are he, him. Hey, Constantine, welcome to the show. Thanks for your patience.
Wow, I didn't expect to be. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to talk with both of you. It's an honor, actually. So, yeah.
Well, we'll fix that.
Mainly... Yeah, I'm really nervous. Also, I'm calling from Greece, so there might be some language barrier problems, but I hope there won't be that much.
Constantine, don't you worry about language issues, because the only modern Greek I know is Yasu, and I'm probably not pronouncing that well.
Yeah, no. I don't mean like that. I mean, if I misunderstand some words or use them incorrectly, that's what I mean. So yeah, I just wanted to ask regarding the creation of the universe. I know I've heard many times in the line. Theists usually say that it's impossible for the universe to come out of nothing, and usually the answer that they get is that it didn't come from nothing, or maybe I guess it always existed. Why would it be a problem if it came from nothing? I guess is what the first question I have.
That's all you, probably.
To be fair, it's at least counterintuitive that nothing produces something. And you would think if that were normal, then you might think, well, then why don't tigers just pop out of nowhere and start mauling me while I'm in this room? if things can come out of nothing. Now, the interesting reversal to that is definitely nothing can pop out of here because we got all these laws of physics and tell us the probability that tigers assemble themselves at random is so astronomically small, I don't need to worry about that. I'm much more likely to see all sorts of other things rather than randomly forming molecules in the form of a tiger. The universe itself, though, what if, just imagining, the universe started from absolutely nothing, a state of absolute nothingness? Well, one thing is, can such a state even exist? Because if I ask you to describe it, you give it any property, well, now it's not nothing, because then it has something as a property. So in one sense, a true state of absolute nothingness is not logically coherent.
Okay,
Now,
I get that.
let's if we try to then say, okay, whatever nothing is, but include anything that's logically necessary, then one might have to wonder, well, if there are absolutely no laws, then I guess there isn't anything that prevents nothing from producing something. Again, this might be super counterintuitive, but if we're just playing the mind game,
exactly
maybe.
where I was going with that about how the conditions in the early universe are so out there that something that violates, I guess, the laws of physics, like something popping out of nothing, maybe that could happen. I mean, in the same sense that if there is a really small probability but infinite time, I guess, or maybe lack of time, something would happen.
Yeah.
I guess, like,
I think
maybe I'm conflating those two things, but is it kind of like when I've heard it like a theory for how, I guess, the universe started, that or rather the reason why there is something matter rather than nothing, that when antimatter and matter collide with each other, they annihilate. So I think the theory I've heard was about that in the early universe, they didn't annihilate each other, and particle, I guess, of matter survived, and that's where everything came from. Is that the correct theory? Well, I guess it's a really simplified one, not that I say it. But is it, have I got that correct, is what I'm asking? Or am I just making fan fiction with science?
So from what you're saying, what it sounds like you're referring to is an actual significant physics and cosmology problem where we don't have a good explanation for why there is matter and why all the matter wasn't destroyed early on, because as you were just saying, when it comes to antimatter, if matter and antimatter find each other, they annihilate and just turn back into photons as energy. But all of our physics says that anytime matter is created, antimatter is created as well. So shouldn't there be equal amounts? And if there's equal amounts, then why hasn't all the matter and antimatter destroyed itself? Why is it that we find ourselves in a universe completely dominated, or almost completely dominated by matter? How does that work? And there are some physics processes that show that regular matter is slightly more preferred than antimatter, but no one has been able to show that this can explain why we have so much matter in our universe. Like what little things we have seen in our particle detectors doesn't scale up to explain why there are galaxies. So it's an open question in cosmology, and we need more help to figure out how to answer that question.
I think if I understand you correctly, Constantine, when you say if something did come from nothing, what would the problem with that be? And on the grounds that nothing includes no laws that would be violated and everything else, I just keep going back to what Aaron was saying and what others have pointed out. I have seen no reason to think that it's possible for nothing to exist or be. And also there's this weird problem, and I know this is somebody's going to be, oh, this is a semantic logical problem, blah, blah, blah. The second you define nothing as having no properties, that's a property. It has the property of having no properties. And so already we're into at least weirdness and potential paradoxes. But what people mean in common language, oh, something can't come from nothing, which Aaron addressed with like, why doesn't a tiger just pop out of nothing? Well, first of all, there's not a nothing for it to pop out of. There is space-time and the properties and particles and all that stuff. And what we see, though, is that some incredibly complex, massive structure of matter does not typically, and perhaps ever, come out of just space-time without some sort of contributing act that we can identify. And even if that's the case, it's still the case that we don't have the ability to explore the origin of our universe, to talk about what actually did or didn't happen or could or couldn't happen, and what the state was prior to the expansion. Did the universe always exist in some form? Did something else exist? Is there a multiverse that's generating universes bubbling up in a soup of meta super space time? We lack both the understanding and the ability to investigate, to be making these sort of proclamations about something can't come from nothing that may actually be nonsense. Like as Aaron was saying, it intuitively feels that way. Something doesn't come from nothing, but we're already in equivocation fallacy territory, because when people say something can't come from nothing, they're not saying it is impossible for anything to arise from nothingness. They're already, they mean something beyond merely anything with the something, and they mean something beyond nothingness when they use a nothing. So whether we're speaking Greek or English or some other language, we are trying to describe a concept and we are misunderstanding it. Oh, we lost our Greek friend.
Oh, shoot.
Damn it.
Are we having call-in studio prompts today? That's 2 in a row.
I hope it was helpful. But we've got somebody who doesn't know if they're a theist or not. And it should be fun to talk about, because I'm not sure. I'm not going to say it's impossible. I don't. Could it be the fact that you believe there's a God, but you're not aware of it? I don't know. But that's not the issue. Andrew from California, pronouncing him, says maybe the existence for God is our life experience. Hey, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Okay.
So I have a question. So I've been watching some YouTubes about God and saying why we're here and whatnot. And one of the things is saying that we're here because we're here to experience life. You know, how we experience, you know, how to, when we grow up, we learn how to talk, walk, and so forth. And then when we die, that experience, we take that experience to God, basically, and we are a part of God.
How would we
my
show
question
that?
is,
Oh, go ahead.
huh?
Go ahead. Ask your question.
So
I'm
my
sorry.
question is how does our experience show that we are part of God?
I have no idea. I don't even, like, if somebody says, oh, the purpose of life is to experience and then to take that experience to God, I don't know why anybody thinks there's a purpose to life beyond what we attribute it with.
Okay. So see, I've been watching like Dolores Cannon. You might want to do some research on her. She's saying that when God first was there, he was always there, but he wanted to experience life to learn more about itself. So
How does she know
he
that?
fragmented himself.
How does Dolores Cannon know anything about God or what he wants?
like hypnosis.
Okay,
The deep
you do
side
realize
of
that
I
hypnosis,
think.
so hypnosis, first of all, isn't a real thing. There is no such thing as a hypnotic state. Hypnosis is basically two people agreeing to play act. But let's assume for a second that hypnosis was real. What on earth would that allow Dolores to learn about God?
She would learn the experiences of others, of their past life regression.
There is no
guess.
evidence of past lives.
So, I'm just asking if there is our evidence of life is through our experience. Is our experience real or is it fake? Just like on Rick and Morty, the episode with Roy, was his experience with Roy real or was it fake? Was it just a simulation?
I don't know the episode. I don't watch enough, haven't watched enough Rick and Morty to know that episode. Do you have another way to frame the question? Because I don't want to be offensive, but right now it sounds like we took a big bong rip, listened to some new age woo woo, and are just kind of, what if everything is like, what if we're all a glob of grease that a giant flicked off its finger and it's careening towards the floor in a bigger universe? Right. So it's like you point to Dolores, who is a self-taught hypnotherapist, and then you mentioned past lives. So you're pointing to a bunch of stuff that is either not demonstrably true or demonstrably not true. So when you say, "Is our experience real?" What are you meaning?
Like what we experience in life, how it affects others, and how that experience, it would be like a void if we die and it's lost. You know what I mean?
No.
Like if you wrote a book, for example, and in that book you put your experience, and then after the book is done, you burn it up in fire. That whole experience is lost.
Yeah, it's lost, but it still happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my take on life, I don't see any externally imposed purpose or meaning. I think life has whatever purpose and meaning we give it. But I ate a piece of pizza earlier today. That piece of pizza is going to provide me some temporary nourishment, and whatever my body doesn't use, it's going to poop out. Does that mean that pizza was wasted?
Not necessary.
Yeah. It's definitely not necessarily. It was not wasted. It was used to nourish my body, even though it's not the best nourishment, but it was used to provide me energy to continue functioning. And I used up that energy. The fact that it doesn't last forever not only doesn't make it not matter, it's the only thing that does. If something lasted forever, how much value does that have? Like when people are trying to get a Labubu or a Cabbage Patch doll or whatever, it's supply and demand. There's limited resources, and the value of those is when the demand for that is greater than the supply. But if life lasts forever, then there's more supply, or at least supply might be equal to demand, so it's less valuable. And so that makes every meal I have more valuable. It makes every movie I see more valuable. It makes every person I meet, every story I hear from somebody, every one of those things enriches my life, and my life is its own reward. I don't need to go on to some afterlife. It has value right now. My house is going to go away someday. The planet's going to go away someday. My truck is going to go, but they all have value right now to me. Why wouldn't that be enough?
I would say some people would want more.
Okay. Well, I want $1 billion so that I can give most of it away. But wanting something is irrelevant. Why do they want more? Why isn't that enough for people?
To improve their lot in life. I guess.
How does, oh well, what more is needed to improve your lot in life, I guess?
Good question.
So, for example, this is not 100% my example. Other people use this, but do you think flowers are pretty, generally speaking?
Yeah.
Cool. Me too. If you walked over and saw an incredibly well manicured yard with a great flower garden with a beautiful diversity of flowers there, and you knew everything about it, you knew the biology, the chemistry, and you knew that this person cultivated it and grew all that. If that's all there was, it wouldn't make the flowers any less beautiful, would it?
No, it would probably be through experience, such as the smell, maybe the quality, the colors, and so forth.
And yet there are some people who seem to think that the flower garden isn't good enough unless there are magical pixies cultivating those flowers unseen to us. They need some extra layer of mystery to make it better. And they don't care whether or not it's true. It's just that what is insufficient. And I look at what is and say, wow, I don't know a fraction of a percent of all the things I could know about those flowers. And if I spent my entire life studying just one flower, I would still not know all the things I could know about it. Why would I need more? Why does it need to be that there's a god or a magic realm or fairies or whatever why isn't the flower enough? That's what I'm getting.
Maybe you just want to learn more. Maybe that's the whole purpose of life. I don't know. I mean, maybe.
What if there's no more to learn and you haven't bothered to learn what's there?
Maybe it's to learn more about yourself as well.
Okay. Why does magical pixies and gods mean there's more to learn about myself? And if I haven't learned everything about myself, why do I need there to be more to learn if I haven't learned it all?
I don't know how to answer that.
I don't either. That's why I'm an obsessive learner. I want to learn, I want to explore, I want to learn what there is. And if it turns out that if I came up with a grand unified theory of everything and I knew everything about every particle that was in that flower, and it turns out that that gave me a complete understanding of the flower, and then I found out there's also magical pixies or God that are tending it or creating it, cool, that's a bonus, that's a surprise, that's something new to learn, but I don't need that now. And if I knew everything about it, then I can go on to the next thing and learn that too. There's more to learn in one grain of sand than you are ever going to learn in your life. And yet it baffles me why that's not good enough, why it needs to be magic. And when we sit around and we talk about, oh, here's a hypnotherapist with doing past life regression and telling us what God wants. None of those things are demonstrably real, and some of them are demonstrably not real. And it's like, maybe instead of trying to figure out what God wants, you should figure out if there's any God that actually wants anything in the first place.
So through our experience and through our life, that knowledge that we get, if we die and when we die, it would probably be lost, would it not? Unless you videotape record your life and whatnot. Or
and that's why I've done shows like this for 20 years, and that's why we have language, and that's why we have books, and that's why we store things on computers, so that it's not necessarily lost. But even if it winds up, all of it will be lost at some point. The universal experience, heat death, or whatever the terminus is. It's all going to end, and there won't be anything. But that doesn't mean it wasn't valuable while we had it. Wanting it to go on forever. Christopher Hitchens had a great quote, and I've got to end here because we've got to move on to another thing. I appreciate the call, Andrew, but I'm just gonna do this as our final statement for the show. When Hitchens was dying, I was there at that event in Houston, and he lamented that it wasn't so much that it hurt being told the party was over. What hurt was being told that the party is going to continue, but you have to leave. And people coming to grips with that with regard to death is similar to what you're describing with people coming to grips with, oh, wow, if I learned everything, then I'm done. There has to be something more. There has to be something magic. And it seems silly to lament that when you haven't even learned what's available yet and learn to figure out the difference between, is there evidence for past life regression or gods or what gods want or not? Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks to all the people who called. Thanks, Aaron, for subbing in today. We didn't even mention it. Eric had something come up and couldn't be here. To all of you that tuned in, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and get ready, because in a couple hours, it'll be the Sunday Show After Dark. But right now, we're going to switch you over to Jimmy Snow's channel with Calling It Now with Jimmy and Jovan Bradley. Please go out and learn something. And if it find out it's not enough, go learn something else.
Don't worry, the library will